Hey, Anna.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, good. Yeah.
We're good.
Okay. I need to log into Twitch.
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
No, I do not, Posh Quill. Should I? I mean, I may know you outside of, I may. Um, very, very possibly. And I'd probably be pleasantly surprised, hopefully. And I got to hit a button here, and let's hit this one. So, no. Hopefully you can hear me.
I hope they can.
I did a sound test beforehand, Anna, so
Yeah, and I can hear you. So
that's
yeah.
good. That's good.
But sometimes we can hear you in Zoom, but they can. Oh yeah. Okay, they can hear you. Good.
Oh gosh.
Hi, Kayla. Thank you for yesterday. So yeah. Sounds good.
What's up, CJ? You're gonna be completely confused. But that's okay. How was your day today, Anna? Good?
Yeah, we run a campaign, run a session, and now they're ready to level up.
Oh, cool.
8 sessions in, and they're first level. So
Yay! That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Long time.
Let's see, what am I doing? Well, that's good to hear.
So it wasn't much of a session, but we can basically have done the first chapter. So
Yes, Kayla. It was a fantastic day today. Unfortunately, the soccer team that my son and that Posh Quill plays on lost, but it was a good game. So, but thank you for asking. What's up, Patrick? What's up, Rox? What's up, Sean? What's up, Daka? What's up, Derek? Long shot, everyone.
wow.
So,
yeah.
awesome. So, Bill's trying to get our 3D printer back online right now. If it wasn't for Mike Saxton doing some stuff for us, we'd be dead in the water right now. So thank you, Mike. I don't think you're on yet, but I'll say thanks again because he's printing out some stuff for us. So that's a good thing. Thanks for that gift sub, Canadian Patrick. What's going on? No, Derek, we only have one, man. We're walking before we're running, so, but we're probably going to need to get some more. So, but if we can't get this Creality up and running, we got a Creality 5. So, yeah, and that's just Apple's having all sorts of problems with it. So we got to figure out what's going on. I hope so. It was good to start. I mean, we're cranking out stuff, and we don't know. No, we don't have a resin printer. And I'm not going to get a resin printer, Derek, because I get, Reaper sponsors us, so we're not printing minis out. It's terrain. It's for terrain, and the way to go with terrain is PLA. Yeah. So right, that's just a decision there. That doesn't mean we won't use other miniatures, because Reaper's fine with that, but we're not going to mass print out 3D print minis. So.
Get so many cool ones for Reaper anyway. So.
Yep, absolutely. So we still got 7 minutes, so plenty of time to play the Gamescape vid again. It was, it rained real hard here in the morning, and it was a beautiful day here, so that was cool, Anna. I'm not sure what time Tim's going to be coming on, but he'll be coming on.
Okay.
What's up, Dave, DM?
Hello, welcome to Gamescape 3D. Tonight we're just going to take a couple of minutes, go over a couple of things on this round palisade, these Celtic roundhouses, and the halfling house we're putting out this month. All right, let's get to it. This is the first time I'm using open locks again in about 6 months, so I just want to go over those real quickly. I'll pull apart a piece here.
What's up, Dwayne?
I have 2 open lock inserts on each side. You really only need to put 1 open lock in there. If you haven't used open locks before, they're pretty stiff the first time you put them in. You'll probably want to use a pair of pliers and just kind of shove it in there to sort of prime the slot for the first time. After you put an open lock in the first time, it's usually a lot easier after that. You'll notice that I've included 2 different types of open lock clips. The only difference between them is that one of the clips I have made actually thinner, so it's not so rigid. The open lock clips just really lock everything together, and I prefer things loose, so I put that in there if you have the same sort of sentiments. When you're printing these fence pieces, they should fit any way you want. On these 8 by 8 inch bed plates, the gate piece is a little bit longer, so I would advise going ahead and positioning these things so you're going corner to corner.
Hey, Walt, thanks
It'll
for
give you a little more space.
Thanks for the Facebook Messenger.
You'll see this top layer here. There's a bit of an overhang. When you print this out, there'll be supports built right in there.
You don't have to watch the whole time.
And they should rip out real easy when you're done printing. Okay, and that's the only thing I wanted to mention on this house.
I think I'm ready
when you
to
print
go on
out the
this
little
one.
pegs for the halfling house, I do advise that you go ahead and just throw down, a little strip of blue tape. Print about 12 to 15 of these things at a time, and that's about the most painless way to proceed with those. Just tap them into place gently. Remember, if you go too far, the peg holes go all the way through. You can tap them back out if you go too deep. Okay, that's a wrap for tonight. Like I said, I just had a couple of things. One note on the standing stones. Most of those are probably much larger than you want them to be. So in most cases, you're probably going to want to reduce those. Size changes shouldn't have any effect on those. And that's it. Okay, so thanks for your support, and we will see you next month.
Awesome. Awesome. Anna, you're going to be a big picture in that box until Tim gets on, which is fine. So.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I can be a smaller picture there too.
Only fueling your desire to get into 3D printing. Well, that's part of it. That's why I got 2 3D sponsors, Sparky. Gamescape 3D in different dimensions, and they're great. We got a lot of their terrain on the table. We saw a lot of it last night. So. That's it. See now, look, there you go, CJ. You can figure out how to use the emotes. So now you got the tier. Plus, you get a bonus ticket for a sub on giveaways. Tonight, magic items. Now, Anna. Oh, well, thank you, Dave. Thank you. We'll talk about that a little bit. So, I try not to cheat and take a title from like DM's Tricks of the Trade, which is Steven Chenault, or DM Prep, Lazy Prep. That's that's Sly Flores. So I just wrote DM's tips on this one. Creating and enhancing magic items. So.
I think every time I run games, I think I find out that I'm an excellent cartographer, I'm a decent world builder, but I'm just an okay DM. That's usually, and you have to ask my players about that, but I think that's the order of goodness. So to speak,
That's cool.
My abilities. So to speak.
2 minutes early. We'll come on 2 minutes early. How's that sound?
Hey,
2 minutes early. Boom. So, good evening, everyone. I'm J.K. Lord Gazumba, and I got the great Anna Meyer with me tonight, and the ever mysterious Tim will eventually get on.
yeah, we have Mimi that wants some treats too.
Yes, and Minnie wants some treats in the background there. So, first things first. Okay. Last night was unbelievable. All right, that was just it was yeah. Hannah's dog is always says hello when that food is around.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So,
and I need to feed her so she passes out from food coma the rest of the stream here.
Yes.
Yeah, but last night was amazing from an adventure perspective, but I also think it was a very, very successful stream. I don't know the numbers, but you probably have some.
It was a massive audience. It was high. It was really high, and we actually peaked over 200 and.
Wow.
4 hype trains, which was
Yeah.
crazy. It was just it was a very
So
very
many
generous.
awesome people in chat and so many wonderful cheers and comments and
Yes, and everyone was rooting for you, with the exception of 1 or 2 people like 2000 Caesar kept on feeding me.
Oh yeah,
DM
but that was part of the fun
anti-points.
too. That kind of evened out the odds a bit and so on. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good one last night, and so from that we have 3 brand new apprentice Knights of Ulick. So we have Skarn, Mike Disney's dwarf, especially Priest of Moradin dwarf, and we also have, oh my gosh, my brain is like off. We have Rihanna Greenstone, Amy's illusionist, human illusionist.
Yeah.
And Tegan Rothschild, Kayla Tamlord's wife, specialty priest of Saint Benedor, all have joined the ranks. So, which was a cool thing. And it was a blast last night. Hey, David, what's up? Yeah, late last night's okay. You're playing your own game. That's the thing. I mean, if we're on, you put us on in the background lurk, or you put us on whenever you can. It's no big deal there. And that's monkey boogers, by the way. There you go, M boogers. So tonight, no special guests tonight. That's next week. Mega show next week. So just note that. I'm gonna hit that up right this very second, and note that Ed Greenwood's on next week. Okay, so it's like it doesn't get any bigger than that. But tonight, I was thinking about this topic, and we're not just gonna go over like magic items. I'm gonna try and figure out how it evolved and how I love creation of magic items. I despise that's a +1 sword. All right, so maybe special men at arms have +1 swords and all, but I like adding it. I like making additions to them. I like changing them. I like giving them some special abilities. I like just tweaking them slightly. And I think that's what we'll do tonight, is we're going to talk about that. And what did you just say while the one ad was on about you are a great I'm
an excellent cartographer. I'm a decent world builder, but I'm an okay DM. That's how I see myself. But you have to ask my players. But I see it in that. So that way you have to kind of take what I will say in this show as a bit of a pinch of salt to go with it, so to speak. But magic items, it's such an essential part of the game that it's been key, and it's also some, I would say, part of the added bonus, the Christmas presents, the kind of some of the really cool rewards. In many ways, it's a cooler reward than XP or anything. Meaning level up and magic items are the coolest thing as a player. You're like, I get this cool thing.
And there's good starting points, and I didn't bring all my books up because it's really, in this case, not that necessary. But I go back to the original Dungeon Master's Guide which has a
Yeah.
ton of magic items in it, and then the Unearthed Arcana first edition, which has a lot of really good magic items in it. It has some bizarre ones. Like I'll tell you
Yeah.
one that I can't stand, and I don't know about you or anyone else. Do you remember the anything items? Anything rings, anything swords, I hate those things. It's just, as a DM, you lose control.
I've forgotten them.
Oh
Thankfully,
my
I've
gosh.
forgotten them.
Thankfully,
So,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, you mean the ones that have empty that you had to roll on the table and fill in the blanks?
no, no, those were the artifacts.
Okay.
So this,
those
this
were the
was,
artifacts.
this was a little different. So what this was there's like in an Unearthed Arcana, you have an anything ring. For 3 times, I think with the exception of wishes rings, you can make that ring can emulate any other ring on that list.
On player's command?
Yeah.
Oh God.
It was so brutal.
But that's an interesting thing, because first of all, that kind of assumes that players should have access to all the different things, meaning there is like a list of magic items that could exist, and the players and therefore the character should kind of know, or is that metagaming? And that I think points out to one. I think that when I was thinking about the things I wanted to talk about in this show, one of the interesting, I think, I can see two kind of viable ways to design an item. And one is you want to have cool magic items that make use of interesting ways to use the game system, that you can kind of expand on the possibilities of the characters. You can kind of tweak things, and you can break the rules in interesting, creative ways to enhance the game. That is one use of magic items, and both sides, both for the characters, but also for the villains and stuff, can have magic items that breaks the rules and make the game unpredictable, interesting, and kind of expand the game. That is one way to look at magic items. The other way is to, and you can also design from that perspective, to make it mechanically interesting things that enhance characters or villains' mechanical possibilities of what they can do. But then you have the other side, is when you look at magic items from an in-game perspective, meaning, okay, you look at them as tools that villains or characters, NPCs, and even some monsters will create, wield, and use. And then you should not look at it primarily from a mechanic standpoint, but you will look more from a story standpoint, from what are the desires and urges and needs of these creatures and these villains and these characters and NPCs and stuff, and not necessarily look at it from a mechanics perspective first, so to speak. And I think and also these two perspectives are not mutually exclusive. You should look at it a little bit of both, because magic items need to function within the rule system so they don't break things completely. But I think it's interesting to see that you can design from, oh, I want this cool thing that makes this interesting thing happen in the battlefield, but I can also say, okay, this item is interesting because it should be there from story perspective or whatever. So those are my kind of overarching ideas of magic items.
Very cool. Now I'm going to admit something to everyone last night.
Yeah.
I will look, knowing the characters and knowing their tendencies, I will look to give my baddies items that will break what I think they're going to do. And I did it last night. Does anyone know last night when I was prepared, spot on for something that happened last night in the final battle?
What, you were prepared, meaning you lowered our effectiveness.
I know that.
and probably a bit more, like 75% of the effectiveness, because you knew what to expect. And in some ways that is mechanically cheating, because
it is some ways.
But on the other hand, that is also, I think, and now I'm talking out of my DM set, so take this with a grain of salt.
No problem.
But I think it's a way to easily simulate really intelligent opponents.
Yes.
Meaning, if you want to have a dragon or a lich or super smart whatever villain that has intelligence that is way beyond what is normal, they should and would and will anticipate almost every threat that comes and deal with it in an effective way. So and that is an easy way of doing it, is to look at the character sheets and say, okay, the characters can do this, and then I thwart it using that. but it wears off after a while. But it's very effective to do, and especially in a one shot like this, I think it's very appropriate.
Yes, that is true. Definitely in a one shot. But I want to, and you're right. A Sul Lich is very highly intelligent.
Yeah.
So the best, in my opinion, the best way to handle last night was make sure I have one get out of completely jail free item that's going to be able to. And I was prepared because I know what Amy has, and I know what she did last time. And when I wanted to stay up a while. When she wall forced around the Lich, I was like, perfect. First of all, she wall forced in Sierra. She wall forced in Stella's character, which was hysterical. Yeah. But then he had enough with that. She was kind of both, and had a rod of cancellation on. Boom, done, gone.
Yep.
So and that's with a magic item sometimes. Now I could have used that and really been a jerk and destroyed someone's really great item, but that's not what it was there for. It was there to offset something that I knew she was going to do.
Then you show something that is very, very important, meaning especially when you reach high level play, when you have multiple of rule bending items that can kind of change, you have to use them wisely.
Absolutely.
So speak, especially as a DM, because if you use them wisely, then they can be even more powerful. The problem with that is that then you should not let the players get them.
Well, and that's the great thing with a rod of cancellation. It's a one-shot item. So I am starting up this.
It's even
So I am starting up the giveaway here. So we are going to do right now a 20 courtesy of Cannibal Troy. We're going to hit everyone up with a $25 gift certificate for CSL Entertainment for Carlos's company. And with that, you'll be able to afford this, probably almost very close to this with the PDF of a Horror in the Holes copy if you don't have one yet, or another great module from Carlos. And then we'll see where we go from there. But we gave away 4 things last night. It was such a monster night. So back to last night real quick. As DM Dave said, we had 4 hype trains. I don't think we've ever had 4 hype trains in a fundraiser. I wasn't paying attention. The night of the last fundraiser, we may have had more than that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the joust and the fundraisers have been equally.
Yes, Troy, absolutely, absolutely. So. Definitely was. It definitely is. Definitely was. And it's going very well. And thank you for that. So I will give you that for CSL Entertainment, and we'll see where we go from there. But being prepared, you have to as a DM. If you're not being prepared as a DM, you're not doing things right. Now, you also got to be prepared on balance. And this isn't a DM planning session, really. This is more of a magical item, like how you take magic items with in there and prepare. And that was one thing. The rod of cancellation is a great one to do. And if you don't want the players getting it, he had 2. If you don't want the players getting it, you just use it. And that one's gone. One-shot item. That item is. So, oh my gosh. What did I receive? I did. I just got it yesterday. And oh my gosh, Patrick. Oh, man, everything is a blank. I'm drawing. I got it. I apologize, Patrick. My brain is fried after the end of the weekend. I know I got what you sent me, and I don't remember what it was. I know it was. No, I didn't. I didn't get it. I don't remember. Patrick, if I got it or not. I got something. Was it? I don't remember. I have to check. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. Reviving. Patrick, let me. I don't 100% remember if I got it. If it was a single module, I may have, but I can't remember. I'm lucky if I remember what I had for lunch. So, okay, where do you start? So we go back. It was an act. Oh my gosh! Yes. All right. So, and I left it downstairs. Damn.
Okay.
Patrick sent me a BattleTech activity coloring book.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, it's awesome, man. I love it.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I'll have to show it. I will show it. I promise. I'll show it Wednesday night. It's awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Absolutely. How could I forget that? Yes, it was a because he wants us to do a BattleTech stream, which I will get into. They give out the stats for the Toe Vecna. Mac, they almost that one that Vecna lives. They give out stats for almost everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot
Oh
of
gosh.
various. It's almost like medieval relics. It's like the teeth and the hands and the bones of various
That was
kinds and stuff.
yeah.
So yeah.
That was my senior moment. I apologize, Patrick. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was lucky to remember. So yeah, send me an elixir of youth. I don't want it bouncing back. So it's
Yeah.
like 19. I'm saying I think it's 83. And oh, by the way, if you notice on the scroller, I got a lot of pictures going through down here. Now there's a lot of knight officers, but just to stick it to all my players, every single Winchester I have a portrait of is in here tonight. Just because that's what I wanted to do. So you're going to see a lot of Winchester scrolling through to say, too bad. So just
Yeah.
note that. Yes, I need something there, Troy. Um, 83, and I'm playing Gazumba. I have Hawk and Gazumba, and Tim's playing Fencing and Leuven, and we actually have a guy, a friend of ours, who has hopped on the chat once in the Blue Moon. His name's Jeff Moore, and Jeff gives Gazumba this item called the Scepter of Disguise, which he has to this day, and it's kind of like almost like a minor artifact, and it's based on a Wine of Wonder, but it's got some other special abilities. Now, I don't think I made a magic item. I may have made a couple, but not a lot before then. I'm thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. He made this up himself. And I'm thinking to myself, why we can make up items. I don't know why we
Yeah.
can't. And so that's when it started, was all the way back in like, I'm going to say 83. We started, you know what, Rox, I forgot to put Fritz up there because he's like a de facto Winchester, and I didn't put Fritz in that mix. And if I do it now, I'll crash it. So, oh my gosh, I forgot Fritz. I forget. Yes, I do have Fritz. Oh my gosh, Rock. Sorry about that. See, there's another senior moment. Have you ever used the first edition DMG to create an item? No, I've never used a book and it saying this is how we create an item. I haven't gone off on that system at all, Patrick. I've kind of gone off on our own system with and our item creation is not our player characters. It's not the characters in the campaign. It's me as a DM for stuff they may find, or stuff that they may uncover, or stuff that the antithesis may have, or something that they have to go on a quest for.
Yeah.
So
So that's an interesting question. Do you allow player characters to create magic items?
no,
Okay.
because my thought process on this is, if you have time to create magic items, you don't have time to go adventuring. So I believe the realm of the magic item creation is left to the super high level cloistered ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want that interaction going.
Not even like low things like earning money by cranking out, be a village smith and cranking out +1 swords or something.
So here's the evolutionary theory on that.
Yeah.
So I got someone creating +1 swords. Okay, so so what's he gonna do? He's gonna sit there and create +1 swords, one a month. What happens? We're gonna have the entire city of Altamira or Greyhawk's gonna be flooded with +1 swords because every month we're gonna get a new +1 sword out there. It's a don't go there area in my game. I don't want to go there. I had and you can say that the ruiners Tim and Alan ruin everything, right? So I had Alan's character Arathorn back in the day. He said, "I want to create scrolls while I have downtime." I got 30 scrolls with 8 spells on them each, all high level. And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So I'm gonna have to deal with this every time. And I said, "That's it. It's done." So
well, yeah, you have to. You can't give the characters that much downtime. Yeah. Meaning, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Potions and scrolls. Potions we have alchemists for. Okay.
Potions, you have alchemists.
Yeah, the Maester class. The Maester.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Witches are alchemists too, but you have to get the components in the course of gameplay. The answer is yes. You can create potions. You can create scrolls, but it's very, very limited. You can recharge rings of spell storing. You can get wands. Now, I have a chart, and I've given it out to a couple of people, but I have a simple cost structure for charges, just to make it as easy as possible on that.
But but it was like the 3rd edition was the first edition of D&D that actually had rules for player created or how you create magic items, what ingredients, what spells you need, and how much money and XP and all that. So
And it was at the cost of experience points, which I
that
found
was part of it.
strange.
Yeah, but in a way, that's kind of I can understand it to some degree because you have to invest your life passion and
Yeah.
existence in it, so to speak. So
That's so true.
So yeah, so you have to venture a lot to get it. So it was probably a way of getting around. So then you had to adventure longer in order to get it, but it's a bit fussy. But it was an interesting first experiment in creating it, and I think I'm not sure about 5th edition, but I think most editions afterwards have magic creation rules built in.
So that's true, Lakem. There was one in White Dwarf. No, basic. The original Holmes Basic had the Prison Edition chit set. They're clever, and it had die 20, die 8, it had all of them. So
Yeah, but I think M. Boogers, I think that was the idea, that you had to invest your life force, so to speak, to some degree into items,
right,
in order to so that would limit them. So magic users and others simply wouldn't just sit and crank out items and flood the whole world with them. So
it is a slippery slope, and be forewarned that you give a little, and your players will take a lot. And trust me, and I don't have bad players. I'm just saying, I know from experience what's going to happen.
Well, they're
adventurers. They're not they're not crafters. Now, the maester's an exception, but the maester, you have to go a special direction with that. Go ahead, Anna. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, as a player, you take what you can get away with.
Yes.
And at least most players should do that, so to speak. That's kind of part of the fun, is to grab it. But
yeah,
but it is a balancing thing. And since I've been a DM more than I've been a player, now it's the opposite. So now I'm starting to think more like a player. But it is. But magic item is one of the most tricky thing, because if you screw it up, you can unbalance the rest of the campaign, so to speak, or you have to kind of somehow make what the James Bond movie the script writers had to do. They had to kind of get him out of a tricky spot with some completely out of the blue thing, and occasionally that might be fun, but to do it on a regular basis, then I think I don't know, but it's one of these things that you really have to think through. And it also, I think, something that now I realize in my campaign, because they killed Vakunis when they were 0 level. That was halfway because I didn't know the rule system as well as I should. So when I went into combat, I thought he had a couple of more rounds, no problem. I don't have to worry about it. And boom, was I wrong, so to speak. So a couple of crits and he was done with. And that means that, and magic items kind of enhances they put the limits on, or they test the limits of the rule system more than any other things, which means that you as a DM need to know your rule system way more when you introduce high-powered magic items. Like artifacts will test or sometimes even break rule system, because you can circumvent so many rules and stuff. So that might be awesome fun, but to play overpowered characters, it's not that much fun after a while if you can just go around murder hoboing everything just because you have the coolest item in the world. So it's tricky.
It is tricky. I'm going to give you an example, okay, of an item that's original, right, too. And of course, I don't see it here. We all know what I'm talking about. Oh, here it is. Last night, the Rod of Flailing. Now, if you watched Bill's character Sorsha with this thing last night, you'll realize why I've only given out one in my campaign and why I'll never give another one out again. Because this thing was made before the days of weapon specialization. So if you have a 7th level fighter who's specialized or double specialized with this, and they get 2 ball attacks in one swing, and now they get 2 swings with it, that's 4 attacks going. And you saw the devastation it can bring.
Yeah.
I should have used the rod of cancellation on that, but I didn't. Right? But just note
that's kind of cruel if you just to get it out of, and that means that, and that's the other thing I think as a DM, you need to make sure that you don't come across as cruel towards the characters or the players.
Troy, you're absolutely right. I have Casey to play test min maxing par excellence all the time now. So And yeah, absolutely. I know. I just saw Casey on. I break
Yeah.
combos. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um,
But min-maxing, it's important to say that min-maxing is not to recommend too much min-maxing from the player side, but also DMs should not min-max too much either, because that also is not really fun. If every encounter you can, as a player, if you start sensing that every encounter is the DM tweaked an item or something, so just to thwart the player's new cool abilities, that is to overstep it, so to speak. So if you do that on a regular basis, it's occasionally, if you have the smartest Sewell lich in the world
25
that
Sean.
has 3,000 years to plan for it, that might be. But if every little villain has all the preps and all the traps and everything just to thwart you, then you're probably doing it wrong, so to speak. So yeah.
All right, so rod of flailing, never again. You know,
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
That's one.
Any other examples
Oh
of
yeah,
items that have
yes.
screwed up
Are
the
you ready?
campaign?
First edition was filled with them. The
Mhm.
Helm of Brilliance.
Oh yeah, you mentioned
Brutal.
that before. Yeah.
Any undead that comes within like 60 feet of it automatically takes die 8 per round. I mean, it's just so nasty. And
No
all the
saving
fireball,
throws, no
none,
effort
no. It's got
needed.
prismatic
Okay.
sprays and fireball gems
Yeah.
all over it, and it's just sickening.
Yeah.
The Robe of Eyes can never sneak up on anyone. A 360 viewing range. It just painful,
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah.
This one I'm on the border, Cloaks of Displacement. Now, remember when Amy started, she wanted to start with one. I was like, nah, not happening. So, payload. There's a lot of them, Gary. So, Gary, you mentioned one earlier in your joke up there, and that is a Bucknard's Elver Purse. I know the devastation that happens when Tim has one of those, because he'll pull, it has 26 coins in it of each type.
Yeah.
He pulls 25 out of all of them each day, leaves one in, and each day they go. The guy's a multi-thousand millionaire in a year, right? Because every round, I'm like, where are you putting all these coins? So that's another one I can't stand. It's the Buckner's
But what you do then is that will simply that will be the same thing as someone goes and kills the big red dragon and comes in with 10 million gold.
Exactly.
Inflation.
Oh,
you can't buy a piece of bread without paying 100 gold for it or something. So yeah.
Thunder, best of luck with that Robe of Eyes, but you're never going to be able to sneak up on the party ever again, ever, ever. With a character with the Robe of Eyes, because they see everything. They see invisible.
Well, then you bring some ethereal creature that
5e. Okay, well 1e2e's brutal. So and there's a lot of other ones. I rarely give out Vorpal weapons. Rarely. I give out Holy Avengers.
I want to redesign the Vorpal weapons because I think they're boring in the way, and it's kind of just they're kind of silly. I want to, meaning you have wounding weapons that cut off body parts, and then you have Vorpal weapons that somehow manage to cut off the head specifically. So I want to skip all the Vorpal ones and just have
sharpness.
The wounding ones.
Yeah, wounding and sharpness I'm much more amenable to.
Exactly.
And there's a chance for the head in the sharpness one.
Exactly.
Than there is in a Vorpal.
That I think would be simply that would make more sense, because mechanically they seem to be the same thing. It's just that somehow magically one is and then one the other. To me, it seems like one of these things that are just designed from a mechanical standpoint, game mechanics standpoint, and not from making sense in the setting or anything.
So I would pick or choose whatever you were interested in and ask for some advice on what to read up on. That's what I would do. Well, yeah, but here's another point, Gary. So now that I've been doing this for 41 years, I just don't give them out. I have that problem solved. Now I'm going to tell you what Tim did, and we always talk about this. Tim used to give out a ton of magic items in his campaign, and my character Dervillia and Kixano and all those, and his city-state invincible overlord. Then one day there was a big package that came, and we're all sitting there at the table, the entire party, and it had a bow on it, and so he opened it up, and poof, confetti goes all over the room, along with a Mordenkainen's disjunction spell. And then you roll in the Dispel Magic table, and they are permanently disjoined all those items. I don't want to do that. That's something I just don't want to do. I don't want to have a magic item build up and then have to eliminate a bunch of magic items. So I got to play that balance. I know we're getting a little off topic here, but just, if you got to really And this is where I think DMs go wrong. So go ahead, Anna, what you're going to say, and I'll come back
No,
to that
I
point.
was going to say that's an interesting thing. And to me, that is something I want to figure out what can counter magic and how can it work? Meaning if you have a magic item, what function in D&D physics or chemistry or whatever can kind of thwart that item and make it inert? Because if an item can do it, then there should be spells they can do
Scalable.
it. And meaning, and under what circumstances, what range it is, that does it get a saving throw, etc., etc. Figure out these base rules and then introduce logical things that uses these rules, like spells, items, and stuff. And once you have that figured out, and also try and figure out the rules. So if you want a world full of magic wonders, then things that can make magic items, destroy them or make them inert, should be rare and hard to obtain and should not be that effective. If you want a world with very few magic items, then you can ramp up the attack capabilities and make items easier to destroy or make inert. But so think about how it should work. At least that's what I do. I try to think about it from a setting perspective. Do I want a setting full of magic wonders? Then they should not be easy to destroy or make them inoperable.
I just had a little water spill here. Just no big deal. It was just water. So I agree. I agree on that. So I know we're bouncing all over the place here. Random table. So let's go. Ego swords can overpower widows. Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning here and work our way up.
Yeah.
When you start a game, you got to decide when you're going to start incorporating weapons, magic items, and based on your character's abilities and based on how smart they are and how good they are, as far as are they good tactically? Are they going to take advantage of it? And I was finding that early on I was incorporating magic too early, so that was the idea of ego. There's a lot of we're going to get to those weapons because I love customizing weapons. I started out with a masterwork, which was a third edition. It came up in, I guess, third, and I love the masterwork items. Number one, I allow people to buy masterwork items. They're 10 times if they have a crafter that is known to craft that specific weapon or armor. So a masterwork longsword, for example, say a longsword is 25 gold to 40 gold. I think it's 40, a longsword, and 1E. A masterwork weapon costs 10 times that. It's +1 to hit. That's it. It is not magical. It is, it's a master quality weapon. It's a good way to get you started off, and you don't have to worry about magic. These weapons don't hit creatures that need to be hit by magic weapons, but it gives them a little bit. Hey, I got a masterwork item. We use masterwork armor, and we use movement rates in our game. So plate mail. Say you have normal plate mail's movement rate of 6 inches, 60 feet. Masterwork plate mail, you can move 9 inches, 90 feet, and that's the advantage of it. Now that is expensive. So plate mail's 400 gold. Masterwork plate mail can be as much as 4,000 gold. Those are just some things you can do. Masterwork shields I even have in the game. It's a good start point. You do 20 times Casey, that's good. So don't they come with random monster treasure rolls? I never use random monster treasure rolls ever, because that is when you get into trouble. So if you have a tribe of kobolds, say you have 5 kobolds in a random monster encounter, and you roll something strangely on the table, and you end up giving them, I don't know, pick something. You end up giving them a 50,000 gold piece item because of the roll on the table. In the old school days, it happens. I assign and I write down treasure all the time, and I never randomize it, ever.
I don't think I will randomize anything more than 50 or 100 gold.
That's about it.
I would never randomly place a magic item. Never. I don't think I've done that in 20 years. And that's why if my players are starved of levels, they're starved of magic items, maybe even more.
That's a good thing. Absolutely good thing. So Anna, talk for another 10, 20 seconds. I got to get a towel.
Okay.
All right, be right back.
Yeah. So magic items is this kind of, I see it as, but first of all, it's how common is magic in your world, so to speak? Do you run a high magic campaign world where you have teleport stations and like phone booths, and or do you run one that only the king and the high court wizard and the top clerics in the nation can create a few items that they use as state secrets and regalia and stuff like that? And then you can have anything between. And so I think it's really important for you to decide where you want your campaign to be, on the super high end or the very, very low end. Or you can abandon.
Great point.
Yeah, abandon
Great
magic
point.
items completely, but then I don't think it's D&D anymore, because I think you should have magic, and also if you have magic in spells and stuff, it should be in
The ever
items too.
mysterious Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Hello.
So, hi.
We're just talking about your abuses.
Hi, Fraley. Yeah.
So
The wild rumors you shouldn't listen to, Jay.
come on, you and the Bucknards ever for purse. You remember that?
You mean taking fiscal responsibility of this magic item and making sure that you can spread the wealth to others?
Oh my gosh!
Sounds like a good plan to me, Jay.
Oh
I
my
don't know
gosh!
why you're so
man.
down on it?
There you go. So I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm not. But that's just the way it is. You learn as a DM. You're not going to do everything perfectly all the time. Okay, it's I know that. We all know we're going to make a mistake as a DM. I'll give you an example.
Do. Yeah.
Here's last night. Veshka, the Soul Lich, had a 5th level spell, Spine Tendril, with a really nasty halberd around with the spine around it. And I never swung with it one time because I forgot it. Right.
And you even talked about it and showed us.
And then I forgot again. Yes, and then I forgot to use it.
I was so glad when that happened, because I know that even the best forget about things during the session. So yeah.
Exactly. So
I kind of felt that way with the 3-headed flail.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
Tim is hiding somewhere in the garden. So, but that's what happens, right, Tim? I mean, as a DM, you another thing. The more you have to manage, and it counts magic and it counts all the other things going on, the more chaotic you get as a DM. Hence why, if I did individual initiative in my games, it would be a disaster.
Not for the players.
No, it wouldn't. For the players, would take a huge advantage of it. Group initiative works for me, so that's another thing. So, Tim, what do you think about the masterwork weapons that we use?
I like it because it resembles it makes things feel more realistic, and it gives people a chance to buy things.
Yes.
That enhance what they're doing without opening up a magic shop for sale.
Yes.
So it also is a good adventure. It's a good way for adventures because we all assume, I'm paying for a masterwork weapon, therefore I get one, but in reality, you don't know. That contractor is supposed to be certified, but are they really good? Well, you don't know. I think that people don't get ripped off in D&D as much as maybe they should.
Yeah,
that creates the whole adventure of seeking out revenge against the person who ripped you off.
Yeah.
Or the adventure to go find the master craftsman, because master work is difficult.
Mattias, you don't even really need the rules. I can just tell, but I think Player's Handbook 3rd edition will have stuff on it. So, Drake, +1 to hit. That's it. Masterwork weapons are +1 to hit only, no damage. Okay? Now, armor, better movement rate, lighter. Okay? That's the way we do it. Shields.
Well, the +1 makes sense because the weapon would be better made so that there's not unnecessary weight to it, and it would be maybe customized to the individual, so then it's perfect.
Absolutely. And that's why it's 10 times cost. It's non-magical. So
and Jay's letting everyone off easy with that 10 times.
Yeah, Casey says he does 20.
Well, actually in the book it's supposed to be +400
times, really?
No, +400 gold pieces.
Oh. Well,
so you want that 20, it's a 20 gold piece sword. Well, you're going to pay 420 for it.
Sure, yeah.
That really represents probably the amount of money you would pay for a masterwork.
So, sure, you're absolutely correct. But when there's something a good idea in a future edition, I will use it in 1E2E.
Yeah.
And I've taken masterwork items. I've taken keen weapons, which we haven't even talked about. I've taken some other things out of it. I've taken feats and put them in my proficiency system. Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's like the Roman Empire. They used to find something good that worked and just steal it from the culture they just defeated and just use it for themselves.
Absolutely.
That's what Jay's like.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I will steal from wherever or create.
Yeah, but I think now when we talk about masterwork and the kind of the low end of magic items, I think it's interesting to think, are a +1 weapon or a masterwork or even a +1 or +2 weapon, are they magical or not? To me, I'm more and more leaning towards seeing them as simply better made, meaning that the regular ones that doesn't have a plus, they are just average, manufactured under the minimum standard, so to speak. And you can even have shoddy weapons that are even worse, so to speak. But that's kind of the average what you can expect. And then a masterwork is simply one that is made to much better. And you can even see that +1 or 2 or 3 is simply meaning a +5 sword will simply be the best possible sword that the most skilled swordsmith can make, so to speak. And it doesn't necessarily need to, you can use the rules that doesn't necessarily have to be magical to be that. It's simply that good. It's so well balanced. The material is lighter, sharper, thinner, whatever, and so on and so forth. But then only when you get other stuff, meaning you have special properties versus undead, or you can use it to slay ghosts with, or and stuff like that, or burns or something like that, and you can kind of say it's magical. Well, that's one way of interpreting it. You can. It's up to you how you want to where you want to set the limits, so to speak, when magic is needed.
It is, when it's not. But then you run into a big problem, okay, if you do it that way. You have little pitsy ass spells that affect those items because they're technically not magical. So,
exactly.
Like heat metal, which drives me insane. Heat metal does not. You get a saving throw versus magic weapons. Magic weapons, non-magical weapons and armor, no save. And
that's good.
Yes, but if you have a +5 sword and a little heat metal can affect it, no. No.
Yeah, if it's
but I think that's one. Yeah.
No, that's where I beg to.
I think in later editions they tweak the heat metal spells, so it's not that devastatingly terrible. So to speak.
It's not devastating. Just put on your asbestos gloves and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then we have that meaning that will be like the villain who anticipate everything, and then after a while it becomes a bit silly, so to speak. When you can go, that will be
Well, and also I know one abuse I would do is I take my +5 masterwork and then I would throw some oil of sharpness on it.
Yeah.
Right, and it's still, would it be magical for that? Would it radiate magic?
No, but that would stack up on top.
Yeah, so there in the world of magic, you can interpret it however you want as a DM, but just note that magic has certain special advantages over non-magical weapons in the game. It's just the way it was. That's true, Gary. They didn't have it for quality. Yep.
I'm trying to think about the barbarian group I ran. I think that the biggest plus is a +2 with some additional pluses against specific types of targets. So maybe it's like a +2 sword, but it's a better against orcs, or club that it's only a +2. And then you can make a special. That makes it a little bit more personality. It gives a little bit more personality.
But you have so many cool types of magic items. Meaning, in my campaigns, I would way lower amount of magic, so to speak. You have all sorts of cool things from that emulates and does all sorts of stuff. So it's much more of a high magic campaign than in
absolutely.
You guys are the heroes. You're the beautiful people.
Yeah, well.
So you got all the good stuff.
It's yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, DM, you're referring to there's a table in Dungeon Master's Guide that says that, and if I recall it correctly, normal steel can only be enchanted to +2. You need meteorite steel for +3. Okay, this is in first edition. There's Dungeon Master's Guide. Add a mithril +4 can go up to +4 enchantment, and adamantite can go up to +5. That is what I remember from that.
Yeah.
So.
And that has been an explosion in interesting magic related or kind of exotic materials in various editions, from duomerite to whatever. That a lot of adventures in campaigns and whatnot introduces the more exotic weird materials, which is kind of cool in the fantasy world. That is interesting because that also gives flavor to magic items, and it makes them, meaning a material can only be found in a certain area at a certain depth down in that mountain, and that means that you literally have to go there and get it. So yeah,
that opens up a great adventure idea for the patron or whomever sends the party to go where that meteorite fell, because he wants to get the ore from that thing first. So
yep.
That's kind of real life too. I mean, because you know the Egyptians had buried meteorite steel weapons with pharaohs. You know, so it was definitely something that actually existed at that time. So
yeah,
well,
it's in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Is it? Oh,
in the cartoon.
Very cool. There you go. So there is some precedent there, and like I said, I never like converting real world to fantasy, but you know that's where.
But you can take inspiration from the real world and then tweak it and twist it, so it's not, you don't do a direct analog. You just inspired by the real world. I think that's where I like to have it.
They did not. You're absolutely right, Gary. They only had stone for the most part and bone. So
that's correct. They actually had the ability to have better weapons, but they just kind of hung in their, their current tech met their needs because of the desire to capture people alive to sacrifice them. That's why.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It takes a certain amount of creativity and challenges and stuff to find procedures and stuff, so it's a bit of chance and also that you have certain metals, and I think the Eurasia was kind of fortunate because you had a lot of inspiration from a lot of places, and they also have access to basically all the metals, starting with the easy ones like copper and stuff, and then move up through bronze and then the harder metals afterwards.
I like the idea of the different types of metals from magic weapons to add texture and adventure ideas without getting too rule specific. Because I know Casey mentioned that they went special materials, took it too far, and they gave monster stuff. And it's like,
third edition did all
you're
that.
Past tech, you're past the texture, and now you're just trying to simulate some quasi real rules on how materials react with different types of beat. No, that's too much like a simulation. Not
comments on rust monsters.
Yeah.
All right. So, magic destroying monsters. Let's touch this real quick.
Yeah.
If you need to use them, then you're giving out too much. Once in a blue moon's
packages.
What's that?
What about presents?
Present. We talked about your present right before you came on. With your confetti present. We did. I talked about it. Right? Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So isn't Earthblood Earthblood and Red Steel? I know I have the Red Steel boxes and Earthblood. They and there's also Red Weave. There's all different sorts of those special items too that come. Drow weapons are another one too. They're crafted with the Underdark enchantments, and someone made what's called a Ring of the Drow, which if you wear that ring, then you can wear them surface. So that was a neat one item too. But I look at magic destroying monsters as your own fix that you have to make because you're giving out too much in the first place. But once it's a good defender against maybe you put it in a yard and you have a stone wall, a prison. You have everyone inside or something. Or something, and then you have a rust monster out in the yard. I mean, that's cool. But yeah, if you're using those monsters to get rid of magic items, then you realize you got to turn it down.
I've thought of this more lately as we've had more discussions like this. I think the best solution to that sort of thing is make them expendable. Make the magic items expendable.
You mean charges and then they're done?
Yeah, charges, but no recharging, or limited charges.
I agree.
Or once a magic arrow is fired, it's done, unless it's some souped up type, or unless you a special type of, make it where it can only be used so many times. Because then the power never keeps adding up. See, if you have these magic items that last forever as they go up in levels, especially if you play the same group, and that's where the accumulation really happens, when you're paying the same people.
No,
and they're accumulating more weapons and more weapons. That's what happened with us, Jay. That's why I had to do the other thing, because it was the same people always winning.
Well, you got to remember too, we only had 2 characters. In a campaign with 26 different adventuring parties and 229 members of the Order of Ulick, you can go bounce it around a lot.
You can spread it around a lot.
Yes. So all right. So let's talk about this. Recharge weapons. Here's some solutions. We're going to take a wand of magic missiles. Number 1, limit the number of charges that they can get. That's an action. I do it all the time, and Casey always complains. Sorry, Casey, but just kidding. We have a chart that we made up the costs. Amy wanted to go get her wand of shadow bolt recharge, and I said, I think it's $250 a charge, and she goes, oh my god. I said, no, I was wrong. It's only $200. So I've given this out to a couple people. Why didn't that go up? There we go. So we do have, it went up twice. We have these recharging charts that we made with costs and a reference of where they are. That's a way to resolve it. Or you have to be a member of the Magic Users Guild, or you have to be a member of that church, and they may not have certain items available. They may not have anyone available. Come back in 3 months when we have it and set an appointment. I am very well known for high-level mages being too busy to see anyone, right, Tim?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And this is also how the medium level mages make money to build their cool towers and afford all those expensive items.
Absolutely.
So those medium level guys are the ones they have the time to help out, but they're going to take you for charge an arm and a leg.
Yeah, and also the interesting thing is that it simply assumes that it's a transaction, like going to the supermarket, and if you have enough money, then or buying a car, I see it in the fantasy world. It's a matter of who you are. Meaning they're not going to sell to anyone.
Exactly.
It's more like buying weapons in the real world, meaning they're not going to sell to you unless they know that it's not going to be used against them. It's that you share the same interests, and it's going to be not only financially viable to them, but also from a power standpoint, a wise decision to.
I have a story about this sort of thing, because let me tell you what one of my military buddies did to me.
Go for it.
Playing D&D, I got a character who has a nice staff, but it's only got like 2 charges, so I want to get it recharged. So I take it somewhere, and I want to get it recharged, so I got to leave it. Well, the people there have artisans and all that, so they make me a duplicate, and they put fake Duomer on it and give it back to me, and I'm heading off like, thanks, I appreciate it. Because they had it just, and I didn't discuss precautions or checking or anything. So I go off on a lawn, and then I have this piece of stick with Nistel's magic ore on it.
Yep.
I was disgruntled.
Yeah.
So once again, recharging your own items. Adventurers are very busy people, and they just don't have time to do that kind of stuff. That's the way I look at it.
I would simply say that it will take them time to do it. And first of all, a lot of items probably you have to manufacture the wand again, so to speak. You have to create a wand, because it probably consumes it, so to speak. So you can't recharge the same thing. First, you have to make the wand, and that takes a week. And then you have to put the charges in. And if you want 50 charges and you can cast 1 spell, that's another 50 days to put the thing in there and all that. And then meaning then 60 days later, you have your wand. And that means that you haven't been able to adventure or do anything else in 60 days.
That's assuming a DM, one adventure begins right after the other. And there is no downtime.
I will I assume that, so to speak. So the calendar moves forward, and I don't have a cadre of characters who sit and do nothing for 6 months, and then I just have to make them busy. Something needs to come and attack the village and screw things up.
I just say we're not going there, because we went there once and it just didn't work. From experience,
I've used it to some, but it's been more like so they have something fun to do in downtime. And okay, they have to sit and wait in the village for something to happen for 10 days. And then
I know Jay's made exceptions on people who have not adventured for quite some time with this many characters that could be possible, and who aren't overly busy in a specific position of responsibility. Like if you're a night officer, you can't just check out and do what you want. You're busy automatically. But I hadn't played fencing in how many years, and so we said, okay, well, in his interim, as he's sitting in his cool tower,
he's 16th level.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. I know.
Yeah.
And you came up with a cool idea no one ever made before. And I was so Tim created. Go ahead, Tim. Tell the item you created, the main one.
I created a rod of carrion crawlers.
Oh.
So it integrates the tentacles of a carrion crawler into the head of it, and you can use it to attack people with it. Kind of like a tentacle rod, but only three attacking around. And also you can control, I think, carrion crawlers, if I recall.
I thought you could summon some.
Oh, okay. I know. I made the spell summon carrion crawler.
Yeah. And I was
cool
with
carrion crawlers.
He likes carrion crawlers. 16th level mage. I said, okay, why not? I'll let him do that because he did it in a one-shot deal, which was cool. Now back to the wand of magic missiles. Charges are expensive. Number 2, there are no charges. The wand works once per day, twice per day. You decide what. That problem solved. I've been switching a lot of items to daily use items. So if you get a ring of armory, it doesn't have 8 charges on it. You can use it once per day. That's boom, it's done, used. That resolves. Ring of Mighty Manfred. You have that isn't, and you can make it multiple times or whatever, but that will solve the charging issue with a wand or ring or any other items. So, thoughts on the drink? A bit of the push. See how it makes me feel. Playing alcohol. You can do that too. Thunder, you can do it however you want. I like this being descriptive on the potions because occasionally you get a poison potion in there or a filter of love, which tastes so good. If they fail their save, they drink it all. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing on there. But yeah, you can do it either way on the potions.
But sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have another topic relating the limits of magic items and how to limit them, and that's something that rarely comes up, but sometimes, and that's the destruction of items, and especially magic items. Meaning you can have characters that literally go through the grinder and whatever, and their items are perfectly fine. Meaning there is only a minuscule chance that something breaks, but you can be chopped into pieces, you can be burned to cinders and dissolved in acid and whatever, but the items just function afterwards. And I can understand that from a game mechanic standpoint, that's the easy way to do, and players will get really frustrated that every time a dragon breathes on them, then half their items are gone. But but I'm thinking, is that the case for every game system, or do people in their campaigns make it easier to actually have your items destroyed?
Another thing that if I start doing that, I get bogged down. Combat gets bogged down, and that's I think that's just why it's ignored that much. Tim, what do you think on that?
It's probably good episodically. You fall 100 feet down a cliff, and if they have any bottles, or something fragile, they have that bow across their back.
Or like a wood wine and a fireball goes off.
Yeah. Well, I remember fencing when we did the Wizard of Id, he lost a ton of scrolls on a fireball. And I rolled for all his stuff because he did have a lot of stuff. So I rolled saving throws for all of it.
Yeah, because on a
scrolls do
catastrophic
not have a good save.
Yes, they don't at all. Even in cases. So just note that there are ways around the charge issue. Don't use charges. Use uses per adventure, uses per day. That's the way around those items.
And I also was reading again. I don't know. I guess maybe last time we were going to do magic items, I was reading on the creation of magic items and the rules, and you can make a ring that does a spell or something, but unless it's permanency, it's not permanent. So a lower level guy could make a wand, but there is no permanency. So that means it's a use and lose. There is no option for recharge because it's not permanent seed. It's not permanent. That's a good way to introduce cheap,
right. No, that's true too.
unexploitable items.
Yeah, once again, we know what happened in the 80s. There was a line all the way out and around the corner to the great Bill Laughlin's tower trying to get him to do permanencies on stuff, remember?
Right.
I was like, oh, store's closed because that happened.
Right.
You know, because you needed an 8th level spell. Yeah.
People could find items that, this ring of spell storing has these 3 spells in it, but that is it. And they do it once, and then it becomes a really expensive ring that now looks nice.
Yeah, exactly. And Rethix brings up a good point. You need discretion as a DM. You need to figure it out. You have to, once again, it depends on your style of play. If you want to go down to the detail and the minutia, that's fine, and it will work. Yeah. But you're going to slow your game down.
Oh yeah,
you will, and it's just like, well, do I want to use critical hits? And I don't want to go in that discussion now, but once again, we use critical hits, but that slows the game down a little bit, and then destruction of every time a fireball goes off, and it's supposed to be when you fail your save, then all your items got to make that save. But some people may do it every time a fireball goes off. It's a lot of saving throws you got to roll, and that's going to take 5-10 minutes right there.
Yeah, it's not.
But you can have it like if you're critically. Now I'm thinking PF2 terms, Pathfinder 2, is that if you fail your save critically, meaning you fail by 10 or more, then you can start thinking about items and not. So then it will be a rare event, but occasional, so to speak. It will be like you have to dig into your crit tables.
Right.
It happens now and then, but it's not a regular thing.
Right. Yeah. So charges, that's the one thing you can do, and we have our and notice like what Rod of Passage is 2,500 gold to charge. Who has a 20th level magic user walking around being able to recharge it? Art Arcana brought in some level minimums to do recharges on items, which I liked. DMDG didn't, and that's why you notice some of them have the levels that are required right in the book in there. So and then we have items, and here's another thing you can do, which I kind of like. You make certain effects into items. So like a wand of sound burst. That's a cool little spell, or a wand of shadow bolts, which is a spell that we have in our game that Amy's illusionist character has. With limited number of charges, doesn't do a lot of damage, so that they have things they can do in fighting. Just note that the more you give out, the more you got to keep track of, and the more, hey, Amy, and the more that you have to think about balance on it. So I had some custom. All right, Tim.
Yes.
Think of an item in your campaign you're proud of you made, and I'm talking about city state.
Oh, city state.
Yeah.
You're probably thinking of something specific. And
I'm not thinking of anything specific. I'm just saying, like an item that you really love that you made.
Okay. Well, this is the one that comes to mind because just recently what we were talking about. Ulrich has a Crown of Brilliance, and it has those types of gems that a Helm of Brilliance has, but it's limited per day. It can only do each of those different effects a couple times a day.
Does it do the undead damage too? Where undead comes within it, and it does damage?
I do not think that's
because that is so crazy. Flame tongue swords are always cool. Yes, Armin, I agree 100%. So
yeah, they're cool.
I love the customized weapon and armory and shield item with special abilities. And I'm going to give you an example of where to start. Take a +1 sword. You don't have to make out a +1 sword. I have given out +0 swords, +1 damage only. Why not, right? It hits a little bit better, but it could hit like a creature you need magic to hit with, but only does 1 point of damage. Take a +1 sword, and you all know this from like playing Neverwinter Nights or playing World of Warcraft, and it has a little bit of a flame on the end of it. Just 1 point. It's a +1 sword, but it also does a bonus point of fire damage. 1 point. Against cold creatures, it would actually do 2 points. Against fire-using creatures, it wouldn't do any extra bonus points. something you can add. You can up that to like 1-4 maybe, like a caustic weapon. +1 scimitar caustic blade. Does its normal damage, the +1 for the weapon, and 1 to 2 or 1 to 4 points of acid damage in addition. You don't have to up the pluses of your weapon right off the bat. So that is a way to go, so that you're not giving out +4, +5 weapons all the time. Because we all know what happens to the tables when you start giving out higher and higher plus items, and it stacks and stacks and stacks. That's when you get into trouble. That's when you get into trouble, and you can't stop them, and they hit everything.
Then I took that idea that Jay was adding, and it was also different elemental effects.
Yeah.
What I came up with for my barbarian group, the bow of the chiefs. So it's a bow made with some sort of special, magical animal's horn, and it has certain pluses. But then the arrows can add, like if your bow's made of blue dragon horn, it does 1-4 extra electrical. The arrows kind of get a little extra charge on them, so it does plus 1-4 electric damage.
Absolutely.
Things like that. There's some that do cold or heat, or there's other special effects. But
note, because of our feat system, I'm very big on keen weapons. What does a keen weapon do? It's very simple. It crits on a 19 or 20 in our game instead of a 20. It's very devastating.
Yeah, but I think that's really cool because it's not an enormous advantage all the time, and it also spices up the game because it's not a given. It's not a simple. It just it trickles in now and then, and that makes the game more fun. So those things are more fun than just add a +1 or a +2 or a +3. Weapons should be kind of a little bit more. It makes it more interesting without making it terribly more lethal, so to speak. It's more dangerous, but not dangerous all the time. And it's also cool because you can spice up the villain's weapon too at times and make them more crippling. So yeah.
You see, nowadays that's it. A dagger, it's +1 to hit, creatures bigger, larger. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, that's a great item. So Casey asks, once again, min-max extraordinaire, does improve critical and keen stack? And the answer is a flat out no. It's one or the other. So some people say you have a +3 halberd and you love your weapon and you don't want to give it up, and you have your specialization in our game, you can take that and improve critical because it will never have keen on it, right? In our game, that weapon will never get it. You'll have to. It's so rare. That's how you take care of that maybe in the game. Or say you have a +1 keen longsword, but you're fighting with a +2 or 3 battle axe. Which one would you rather use?
Oh, so keen can't stack with other pluses.
Keen can't. No, keen is not a plus stack. Keen is just a crit 19 or 20 in our game.
Oh,
that's
yeah, but
natural.
Can you have that on top of other stuff or alongside other magic things? Could you have a dragon bane weapon?
Oh, absolutely. You could have a flame tongue that's keen. Yeah. Or a longsword defender that's keen. Sure, why not? Yeah. I say it increases the value by 50%. So,
I'm mentioning the different weapons I made for the barbarian game because that's the most recent one where I made a lot of custom.
We should have a chart. We should have
has a long sword of cleaving. It's a +2 keen longsword and with a special purpose, killing orcs. And so if she rolls an 18, 19, or 20, she cuts the orc from shoulder to groin.
That's pretty nasty.
But an orc is one hit dice.
I know, 3 and 20 it is. But
he hasn't met one yet in the game.
you take that, and then you have all these other options. You have a holy weapon. I'm not talking about Holy Avenger. You could have a +2 holy weapon that does an extra die 4 against demons, devils, or undead. Why not? Right? You could have these are what Legkim's talking about. I give these out a lot. +1 longsword, +4 versus Drow. A Drow hunting weapon. Okay.
Yes.
You could have yes, or you could have one of my favorites let's say a +1 battle axe, +3 versus small. So it's good against kobolds, gnomes, halflings, and goblins, right? For the small side, you could do all sorts of things. Jay doesn't like 3E. I don't like 3E, yeah, sure, but I like some of its concepts. I hate having 12 classes. It drives. I want to poke my eyes out. I mean, I hate it. I hate that. I hate prestige classes, but I love converting prestige classes back to single 1E classes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's just addition is more of a, in this discussion, I don't think it matters with with 5th edition, 4th, 3rd, or 2nd or 1st. Don't you have? No, I'm talking about like Casey. How many classes did Garn have? 7. He had 7 classes. It was something. I was like, what the hell is this? How do I even know what this does? That's what I'm talking about. I have 50 classes. I'm talking about in the same character. You have 7 different classes in the same character. That drives me insane. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. How many do you have, Garn? How many did Garn have? It was at least 7. Oh, no. He had more than that. Come on. My primer had like 5. Okay, you had 5 classes. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so. Bard is hey, Bard is what it is. Bard's a triple class. So 5e allows crazy multi-classing as well. It's 1E elves can have 4. That's incorrect. They can only have 3.
Well, 1E Bard is the first
prestige
class ever created, so to speak. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting.
1E elves cannot have 4. They can only have 3. And you're incorrect on that.
Yeah, you had the thief acrobat, but that was kind of a subclass of the thief. So
there we go. Look at that: sorcerer, fighter, arcane, archer, deepwood, sniper, thief. Oh my god. Yeah. So magic items glow in our game too, and I was talking about it last night when they were going down. I said you got about 30-40 feet with a bastard sword up front. Absolutely, they glow, and they do not ruin infravision. All right, back to the weapon. One step further. You have all these special abilities you can put on weapons. You can make them sharp. You can make them, you can make items that enhance weapons and armor and arrows. I give out sharpening stones a lot. A sharpening stone does the following. For example, it'll make a weapon you have masterwork for that day, or it'll make 10 to 12 arrows, masterwork arrows for use that day. There you go. Very easy item to put in your game. I like those kind of things. Neat, So you can do things. You can make items to enhance other items as a magic item. So, Tim, do you use any of those?
I'm sorry to say, I was looking for this
sharpening weapons, sharpening stones.
Oh yeah. I actually have a couple of those.
Yep, absolutely. Do you allow people to add enhancements to another item? No. You slippery slope once again. If they can do it to one, they can do it to all of them. You gotta think about that. If I let Tim enhance one weapon in my game, then Alan's going to go, "Why didn't you let me do it?" And then it's just then the avalanche starts.
That's not my fault though. For the record.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful. Go ahead, Anna.
Well, the question is the person with the stone? Maybe they don't tell anybody it's magic.
Yeah, it may not be magical, right? It may
maybe they don't even know, and they just sharpen their stuff up, and that's it.
True. So, I want to put this out there, everyone. I'm only going to say it one time. Why I don't have my follower goal up? It appears that Twitch is purging inactive accounts. Okay, I don't know what the heck they're doing, but note I've lost 500 followers today. Okay, so just note that. After last night's great show, I'm down about 500 followers than I was last night. There you go. So whenever the dust settles on purging of inactive accounts, we'll see where we all are. Yep. I'm down to about 3,600, and I started the day over 4,100. So there you go.
How long is something inactive before it's done?
I have no idea. And I better not say much more on stream. I don't want to get punished. So that's that. So just note. Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously a maintenance thing you got to do every so often. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Side effect.
So, they were 2 years ago. Remember, with 3 years, how many people come on, follow you as a friend, and then never log in again, right?
Well, yeah.
That's what happens. That
must happen.
There must be a login time period or whatever. So note that. All right. Weapons. Intelligent weapons. Special. You got it, Anna.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, that is interesting. But please start. I have some other comments, but please start.
All right. So the last one I gave out was with the Barrier Geeks, which was with Eric Mengi. Eric Mengi's specialty priestess, right, of Mayhem. I gave out a weapon, a lawful good bastard sword, and they actually, and if you watch that one with the wonderful fox woman at the end, one of my favorites of all time, they were warned,
Wonderful.
yes, be aware, look out for Glory. Maybe you will come across Glory. Well, they found this weapon in her hut named Glory, a +2 bastard sword with lawful good. They don't know the intelligence or ego of the weapon. It has empathy, but that's not all. So it has special abilities. And here's the thing you can do. Tailor this to your game. Cool things that won't imbalance your game. So this may have had the essence of a former paladin in it. So the weapon can do a lay on hands in 1E style, 16 hit points per day as a paladin. Okay? And then also gets the capability of the spell Searing Light once per day at 8th level. I love giving out shields with Bless on them, right? Or armor that has protection from normal missiles on it. Or ring mail. Here's the thing. So your tanks and your hardcore fighters don't go to the plate mail all the time. Get a suit of +2 ring mail that has fire resistance built into it. Now, would you rather have that, or would you rather have the chain or the plate or whatever? You got to see, that's how you do those things. Put in little enhancements on your items so that they're not going to the best armor all the time. Make the lesser items cool. And I'm going to show you another thing to do. And I don't know how many of you, yeah, Armin, well, that's good, man. But I've been on for 3 years, so a lot of the old accounts look like they're going away. But so be it. What am I going to do? You know, it's my curse, I guess. Let me go do this. I left it. I'll show it because I didn't put it in there. I should have had it up. Take, however you categorize weapons, take a weapon, take a longsword. If you allow proficiencies based on the type or the category, you know, make the exotic weapons have, if it's 3, make the exotic weapons have abilities. I'll use the Viking Sayax a lot. It's not a longsword, so I gave out a Sayax of Dispelling a little while ago. When it hits, there's a 1 in 4 chance it does a personal dispel magic on the target it hits, so it'll dispel the buffs. But it's a Sayax. How many people take Sayax of proficiency? Take the Elven Thin Blade. Take a scimitar, take a falchion, take a Kapesh. Don't make it on a longsword. Make it on something a little bizarre.
Knife. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yes.
I remember I got the magic Basilard. So
yes,
when he picked the next weapon, he was proficient in Basilard.
That's exactly right. So exactly, you take items. Yes, dispelling. I've given out a prismatic weapon once, and that was really nasty, and it's on an NPC hands, and that is, if it hits, there's a certain chance, very little, that it prismatic sprays the target. It's a very high-level campaign character weapon, and I think that is a Sayax as well, or it's not a Falx. It's something offbeat. It may be either a broadsword or it's either broadsword or Sayax. It's not a longsword. Do not give all the items on longswords and bastard swords. So, you know, it's cool. And that's a way. Now that's a knife. Take your items and enhance them to make them cool. Don't just say it's +3, right? Give it a +1 with even a prayer once per day is devastating. The spell perfect prayer once per day, and have a background for the weapon. Give the weapon a name. Give the weapon an alignment so that if you're neutral, if you're CAC neutral and there's a lawful good weapon, it's not going to function in those person's hands. Reward the good ones, or reward the certain characters in your group, or make a true neutral weapon like a balancer.
And be sure to do the same for the bad guys.
What prayer? Why would you do that to yourself? I'm just giving that as an example.
No, I mean, give them a special weapon also.
Oh, absolutely. I love Unholy Reavers, because no one in my party is ever going to use an Unholy Reaver, right? That's a little devastating for an anti-paladin. Will have that.
I had Itarava use a raven short sword, which basically steps up your thief backstab 1 multiplier.
Yep. We have them called assassin's blades. This is another good idea. Tim brought up a great idea. +1 dagger assassin's blade. Backstabs 4 levels higher on the table. So if you're a 5th level thief, you now get backstab as a 9th level for your to hit, and it does quadruple damage instead of triple. Now that +1 weapon is cool. At frontal attacks, it doesn't do much, but backstabs, it's devastating. Another thing you can do. It's a great point, Tim. Absolutely. So I just got best ring in volume 2 in the mail yesterday. Anti-paladin. Anti-paladins are awesome, aren't they? Good got you down. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow weapons with shadow creatures. Yes, that is another one too. Mike Von Molku. Shadow weapons are cool too, and playing the shadow shades are awesome. And Nemesis. We had one character in 41 years become a shade, and he did not like it at all. Do you remember that, Tim? Tandor.
No.
I turned someone into a shade. Yes.
I had a couple characters turn into shades in my college campaign.
Thunder, it's not backstab. It's not backstab in 5th edition. If you can backstab with a missile weapon, it's not backstab. It's thief sneak attack damage, which is a little different than a backstab, So ran a 2-year campaign once a week and stopped because I got burned out. But those days, exactly. Just you can't come up with a wrong tweak. Hey, Jimmy, thank you. You can't come up with a wrong tweak for your items. Here's what you do, okay? You tell your party, I'm going to do some play testing with some items. If it goes awry, I'll replace it with something of equal compensation down the road if it's not feasible. But experiment, try some things. Listen, There's nothing better than a shield, which is masterwork +0, but it has detect precious metals on it. You know what I mean? Once per day. So it's a dwarven miner shield, or a dwarven helm, which gives you the ability to detect gems or something. Yeah, I mean, they're cool, right? There's another thing. Most items that are attuned or have magical are weapons, armors, shields. Helms are always forgotten. Amulets are forgotten. I love giving out amulet protection instead of ring protection. Armbands, gauntlets. We'll talk about gauntlets. We'll talk about gauntlets in a second. Earrings, right, Tim? Also, you can put them on other items. Yes.
An earring of protection will stack with your ring of protection.
Exactly. And remember, you can only wear 2 rings of protection. Don't stack with each other, but an earring protection and a ring protection, our game will stack. So, Knock spell once a day. Great idea, Jeff. Great idea for an item. Perfect. Mm-hmm. You make it. You can make it.
Mallet.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Lay Kim, I have not given out a girl of giant strength in 30 years. Now I've given out a gauntlets of Orog power, which is 1801. I've given out gauntlets of ogre power once in the last 20 years. I will not give girdles of giant strength out. Period. Won't do it. Game imbalancing.
I actually stole one from Jay's character in my campaign.
Yes, and I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was like, "You should have done it."
I should have done it exactly. Exactly. +1 belt buckle protection. Perfect. There you go. You got your idea now.
Yeah.
Be creative. Make the belt buckle be here's another thing. So I'm going to give you a really good secret of mine. Do you know the sphere of sun? If you're a 1E, 2E person, and maybe even 3E, you know that certain weapons, certain spells can only be cast outdoors during the daytime, like Sun Scorch or Sun Ray, right? That's a little too far, man. You don't want to go, especially on Twitch.
Well, you can't cast Sunray indoors?
You can't cast Sun Scorch, Sunray. You can't cast Call Lightning indoors. No. So
Call Lightning, that I totally get. You need to. That Call Lightning is such a terrible spell because druids always want. Oh, there must be a little cloud somewhere. You get into meteorological and So that's a spell I don't want to have things that rely on certain.
I like
it's
the
kind of tricky.
I like to have druids like use that spell with an intended purpose ahead of time. It's not like you can just whip it out on the fly unless you happen to be in a storm. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, and there's
so cold lightning is one of these spells that I think it's kind of tricky to use because it's kind of there's a lot of areas in climatological, but you would not have thunderstorms. Like in temperate areas in winter, that no chance you would not get it, hardly ever. And,
right.
And tropical, then you can have it any day of the year. So it's kind of tricky. Yeah.
A whole bunch of druids doing control weather and a bunch of them casting.
That I can totally get.
Else.
If you can control weather and cast that first, and then you can summon or conjure a thunderstorm, and then you can call lightning. Yes.
So
don't fool with brothers of nature.
Hammers of Thunderbolts are out in my game. I've given out, I think there's 2 in the campaign currently. Rule number 1, you have to be over 6 feet tall to use them. And you have to have a combination of other things. It's really crazy. I've said it's too much because if you take those gauntlets and that girdle combined and do it, you're talking about damage that you've never seen before on a catastrophic level. So the amulet of the sun, amulet of sun collection. So if you wear that amulet, you can cast. It collects the sun in the daytime. You can then cast your spells. It can only be cast daytime, or outside, underground, or at night if you have that amulet on. Kind of a little tricky thing there.
Yeah.
A little neat item. You can do that with other items too. You can give it, some special abilities. Always, if there's something that inhibits your characters because of a time or situation or time of the year, you can give them an item that will negate that inhibitance, if I use that as a proper word. Do you use a lot of the flange specific magic? Yes, yes, absolutely. I gave out a Mantle Celestian last night, but that's an Arcana. So I love those items. And I talked to Jim Ward about how much I love Greyhawk Adventures magic items. I think they're fantastic for the campaign.
Yeah.
Was there even a more powerful weapon than Stormbringer? Probably, yes. Oh my gosh. Stormbringer's not Vorpal. A Vorpal weapon, any Vorpal weapon is much more powerful. Imagine you roll a 20, you cut someone's head off. So
Speed sword was way better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. There's a lot of weapons that are better.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anna.
I was going to say we talked a bit about weapons with an ego and that are like powerful enough to have their own will and they can speak and stuff like that. And to me, that opens up a lot of interesting possibilities, but also a can of worms, because that is not like giving the party or the character a magic item. That's like introducing an NPC. So you have to realize that puts a lot of burden on you as a DM to play that character, because you need to play that item and start thinking like it and so on and so forth. So I think they are great from a story campaign perspective, and they need to have a purpose, and they should also have meaning they should have motives and goals and stuff like that. And to me, it's an interesting twist on cursed items, because you can put an item in there saying that is a sword that offers to be the most cool sword in the world, but the sword wants blood. You have to kill someone good, then it will function for a day, and it will give you, meaning the sword was there to kill good creatures, and that was the purpose of it. It's like an anti-paladin that his soul is in the sword, so to speak. So you need to do evil things, and then the sword will work for you. And that means that it's not cursed per se, because you can get awesome stuff out of it, but it comes as an enormous price. Now I'm taking an extreme example, but you can have a druid weapon that simply say that you have to if you're evil, mean to nature, and or don't protect the weak, or you go outside of an area. The weapon was made to protect the country, for instance. So if you work to protect that country, it works great. But then if you go on some other side quest just to slay a dragon that has nothing to do with that country, just to get money or whatever, then the weapon will be like, no, that's not my turf, and I will stop. Meaning you can tweak this to say that the item has a purpose. It's made to do something, and as long as you work towards that purpose, it's in on it, so to speak. But that is, yeah, it comes with its own pitfalls, but it can be a great kind of campaign ploy, so to speak. And to me, it would be kind of cool if a young warrior of the Horn Society or something might have an up and coming star of the Horn Society might have a weapon that has the soul of some diseased, more powerful evil warrior, and as long as he goes around killing good ones, he has a really powerful weapon. But the day he stops doing it, the weapon might simply just stop functioning. The weapon just wants, you can call it hunger, like the Vecna's weapon or whatever. You need to kill a good person every day, otherwise it doesn't work. And he would urge you to do so, and offer you, tempt you as a player to give the character enormous amount of possibility. You might get like it will be a +1 for every good person you kill per day, up to or something like that, and or something. Meaning, then the weapon wakes up and becomes more and more powerful the more good.
And of course, its ego grows, and so you risk getting dominated by it too.
Oh, exactly. Then the weapon will start yelling and say that, oh, we have a good one here, come and slay him or something. If you don't do what the weapon wants, the weapon will come out against you, so to speak. It will and give you false information, whatever. Then you come to how smart is the weapon, meaning can the weapon see, can the weapon hear, what does the weapon know about? So you get into all sorts of interesting conundrums that you as a DM have to start figuring out what senses and what does it have and stuff. So it's a really difficult thing to do, that increase the burden on you as a DM, because it's an NPC that goes with the party that the players interact with a lot, and they will demand everything from that you have to start. So grumpy characters as souls in weapons or whatever it is probably to recommend. Some old grumpy one with a single purpose, and they're not good. They're hell bent on getting their purpose through, and that's it, so to speak. That might work.
And that's where scalable weapons can come in. I like scalable.
I wanted to
weapon.
I wanted to talk about Holy Sword. I saw a good article. I was researching to look it up. It was from Footprints. Isn't that the dragon foot?
No, footprint. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and they're old school.
Number 18. They have an article on Holy Swords, and they have a whole variety of different. So you don't have to have this sort of B flat, regular. Well, all Holy Swords are like this. There's a whole bunch of them, with all sort of little backstories and so anyway, I just thought I'd bring it up because that's a great source for variety for your paladins.
Variety is a very, very good thing.
And then I know I've seen it, but I can't remember where I saw it. Scalable magic items. I've seen an article with swords that changed, but I don't remember where I saw that. I did read it, but I can't remember where I read that.
So
I know you guys have both mentioned it before.
Yeah. Well, travel items are good too. Valmoka has Pathfinder boots of the Mire. We also have boots of comfort, traveler's boots, all sorts of items there. Ones where you almost you can walk like Legolas on the snow. Those kind of things. Boots of the North can do that, right?
They are great, but teleport items and flying carpets and things that make you teleport or just open holes through castle walls and stuff.
Trust me,
they cause problems. Yeah,
they're
they
the
cause
best
problems.
ever.
Yeah. No. So I hate brooms of flying. I hate them. Hate them. Now I don't mind Dimension Door because it's a limited distance, but teleporting at will and flying is, if you fly, you should get the attention on you a lot.
Yeah, meaning if the dragons out, they love to have flying things.
Or people or archers.
But
I would not let anyone shoot from a broom. I mean, sit on a broom. You think you can?
No.
It depends. If it's a magical broom, if the broom can fly, you can probably sit on it too. So, but
no, you still have to hold on to that stick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's kind of funny because the reason, I don't know if you have that in America or where, but in Sweden we have at Easter all the witches in Sweden or like the Scandinavian area, they go and fly to a little island in the Baltic, and they are traditionally supposed to fly on brooms every, I think it's like Good Friday or just before Easter. They are, all the witches in the country are going to fly and have a convention or convey and get together and exchange spells and all nasty stuff on a little island, and they are flying on brooms. So when I read that in the DMG the first time, I said, oh, there's flying broom, I was like, wow, that's cute. So it's kind of funny. So yeah,
if you're flying on a Hoover vacuum, I'd say they could probably sit and shoot a bow.
You can't shoot from horseback, Casey, without the special ability to do it. You know.
Oh yeah, blåkulla, exactly. Yep.
And a short bow.
Yep.
I wouldn't let a longbow do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. In which kind of flying? So St. Carlos made sure there was nothing left to raise.
Yeah,
yep,
we get a clean
absolutely.
sweep every year.
The chicken leg hut. Well, that's an extra dimensional space. So back when I was a kid, Walt and Tim, it was one of the first times I ever played, and Walt's character Ishtar, which is why I created a bounty hunter class, put her cloak up somewhere and walked inside it, and I'm like, what is that? And that was called, remember, Tim, the what?
Cloak of Wondrous Space.
Yes. And I was like, that is cool.
That is cool.
Yes. And so, and that was Marco, if you remember, Marco's uncle Luke created them. Created Cloaks of Wondrous Space, I believe.
I have a character with that. Does Steve
yes.
have that?
I think so. So I was like, very cool item, Cloak of Wondrous Space. And I've never given one out because it's not really something I've made, but I was like, wow, that is neat. That's a neat item.
It's like the D of Intent.
Yep, absolutely. Now, something's up on the screen now, and I have to say this before, and you go, why is there an 8-ball?
Yeah.
Why is there an 8-ball on your on the ad? Okay, the magic 8-ball. Now, I like taking mundane real life items and turning them into stupid magic items. Why not, right? So here you go, and you know how you ask this thing a question and it tells you a stupid answer. All right, so here is the magic 8-ball. It's like a semi-artifact in my game. Bill's character, Salen, has it. Here is the magic 8-ball. An item created that is, this strange magical item brings, seems random or good or bad luck upon the user. However, those who know the powers of the 8-ball know it is all-knowing and can actually see into one's future. You have to believe. You have to ask it at the beginning of an adventure. The owner of the magic 8-ball must use it and must ask a dumb question of it. Shake it and then roll an 8-sided die. For the entire adventure, that effect happens. And there's your answer you get on the 8-ball and the cumulative effect. So if I roll a 7 and I say, am I going to have bad breath this adventure? And the answer is better look up and behind. You get -3 on all your saves for the entire adventure. There you go. That's the power of the magic 8-ball.
That's a bit like the deck of many things. It's something that can ruin you, and you always draw one too many cards on that damn thing. So,
yes.
So you end up dying or cursed forever.
Greyhawk have billiards? Well, Greyhawk has chess. So there you go. And so there's a 2% non-cumulative chance per use that it'll teleport away. It can no longer determine your fate. So far, it hasn't happened to his character, but every time he adventures, he has to ask the 8-ball a question. So there you go. Once you claim it, there. So there, I made up a dumb item. Timmy, have you made up any silly dumb items? You made up the hot. Yeah,
I reused the in the charity game I ran. One of the characters had the Ring of Manfred.
Yeah, and that's what you know, and also Prometheus mentioned that earlier. Yep. What does it do?
Manfred is. It was a very high-level magician who had his spirit put into a ring. The problem is he couldn't hear that well. So every time you call for it, you've got to call loudly, "Oh, mighty Manfred!"
Yep.
And to get him to do something, we roll to see if he hears.
Did that come from the Twofold Talisman? Where'd that come from?
Dragon Magazine.
It was a Dragon Magazine. Okay.
Yeah. Never hears it wrong is the worst one, really. Where you please
silly, I meant Scottish Jeff.
Slay this monster, and of course, one group had it said, "Oh, slay this monster," and it paid the monster.
Yeah.
So it teleported all the party's money right in front of the monster. So anyway,
and there's things, yeah, there's always those little quirks. And I remember back in the day when we first started playing that your dad and Luke, Tim gave out index cards, and the word quirk was on it. You didn't know what it was.
Right.
That was pretty neat. That was cool.
I have a minor item that I think Anna's character has. I think boots of dryness, just fur-lined boots that keep your feet warm and dry.
Yep.
And every soldier knows that will be the best item you can ever have.
That is the best item.
Yep.
So you can also have ridiculous items. We have an item called Nita, N-I-T-A, magic wig. And you've probably seen, what is this? Okay. So this is a obviously fake looking wig. Now this is owned by a half orc bounty hunter in Harby, and it's your dad, Tim, it's your dad, John's character has this. You must wear the wig, and once you've worn it for a week, then the wig gives you some certain powers, and the power it gives you is the illusionist spell Blur once per day, which Blur is pretty nasty in 1E2E. The first round, the person's -4 to hit. So they're just looking at that awful wig on your head, and -4 the first round, and they're -2 each round to hit, and that's the ability that it gets.
So you have to go and be ridiculous for a time.
You have to, because you have to wear it. So if you take the wig off, there's no power. So there you go. So, another bizarre item, a +1 spoon of eating. That's a good one because Monkey, everyone loves / hates Merlin spoons in my game.
Okay, yeah, I found some ridiculous ones from old articles of things.
There's a lot of them out there, and there's some cool ones, but there's some ridiculous ones. Here's another one. This comes from the Twofold Talisman. The Squeeze Me Teddy. So you have to, okay. Now this is actually in that event, and it's on our Wall of Fame for Dungeon Magazine, or they're actually the dragon. It is a teddy bear that is a +1 ring of protection. When you squeeze it, it says, mommy or something like that. So Alan's character Garth has it, and he would torture another character. Every time that character got put in the negatives, he would just squeeze the mommy above him, let him go down to -9 before he death stored him, just to torture him. Yes, so there you go. Another silly item. So you can have fun with items too. Trousers of repulsion. You pull down. Repulsion items are cool. I love all right, here's another item: the magical deodorizer. You may think that that's a terrible item, but it's a great item. Say you're in a stinking cloud. It's like that thing you put in the socket, right? It poofs out some very nice spray of some sort, and it negates clouds. It negates tyrant fog zombies. It negates gas and ghoul, gas stench and trog stench. But it's got limited uses. So there you go.
Silk stockings of holding.
Tim is doing better, I bet, from that shot, right?
Yeah, I still have a headache, so I'm just. That's why the lights are out, so it does not too bright.
One of the coolest items ever in a game was in the Underworld, and it's up there to Caduceus Snake. It's in Underworld Publishing's adventure on my Wall of Fame, okay, with the evil necromancer trying to summon this awful deity. And it is a live snake, but you place it in your pant leg, and what does it do? You like move a certain way, and it bites you, and it does a healing. I think it does a cure critical the first time, a cure serious the second time, and a cure light the third time. Because a Caduceus Snake is the snake of healing. It's a pretty neat item, and I liked it in that adventure so much I've given it out outside of that adventure. Do you have the Encyclopedia Magica? I do have that, and yes, I just have never gone through it. I stick to Arcana, Player's Handbook, compiled spells, compiled items that I like in Dragons and other publications that I put in here. I love special arrows. I love special shields and weapons, and just really mundane, useful items. And then I compile them here, like say, Flurry of Swords. You get the articles and you just put them together. Here's a good one: a Traveler's Emporium. So, and this has the Traveler's Backpack. And look, this has the boots of trail marking I was talking about. Hiking boots, bottle of holding, some really neat things.
Magic item called a hot rod. otherwise called a rod of heat. So you have different.
I gave out the warm brick a little while ago as well. Language necklaces are cool too to create. You can put any language you want in them. So, or some kind of amulet or something that allows you to speak and converse in any language that you feel like, maybe Solvies in Greyhawk, or maybe thieves can't, and you're not a thief. Imagine the capability of that.
Here's a special magic item, Jay. A lightning bolt. When the bolt hits, it lightens the target and makes them weightless.
That's pretty neat. How long does it last?
Lightning bolt.
That's a good one.
Lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you ever handed out an hour slaying? Absolutely. In fact, I got burned by one a couple months ago where there was an hour slaying and it killed. Yeah. Yes, I do. I've given out a black arrow of Ayus before, and that reappears every morning in the quiver. All right, I've given that out before. I've given out most arrows of slaying are one-use items, hit or miss. Most arrows in my game are hit or once they're shot, you can't recover them unless there's a specific. It specifically says that you can. Certain arrows reappear in your quiver each day, like a black arrow of Ayus. So yes, I have no problem giving them out. But just note that you're going to pay for it. I allow save mode throw versus death magic on the hit. It's not an outright kill in my game. So yes,
I had coyote arrows I made for the barbarians. It's basically keen arrows.
Yeah, you remember it, Lord Forth. You remember what happened. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, keen arrows are great too. Crits on the 19 or 20.
Yeah.
So I know we're getting close. I mean, we're burning through tonight. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Here's something you can do and that develop that's cool. Take something in published source and develop it yourself. And I'm gonna show Mayan or Journal 32. Okay, this was the Infinite Earth Journal. And this has gone over since From the Ashes came out. I love the story, and that is the Varnafane. Okay, right just south of Mastrine's area and Narwhal, and it tells the story that there are these at least 6 known legendary axes of Varnafane that were like, and no one knows where they came from. There were dead dwarves in there, and then there were elves, and the bugbears took them. Well, 4 of them have been found, and I note them in this article, and I developed them all, and then document which character has them, and they were all in the course of role play over years, and there's only 4 that have been recovered. And I'll give you an example. So we'll go to, and they are all of different types. So let's just pull up this one. The Servant of Arm of Clangeddon. It's wielded by the champion of the Prince of Yulok Horkar the Magnificent. Does master critical. You're immune to fear. You're immune to being incapacitated. And those are the items you get once per day. These are like kind of lesser artifact level. Think of something, think of balance, make them up. And then here is another one, Dirge No Bane of Underdark Dwellers. So you get against Daragar and Darrow, you get bonus damage on the hit, and then you can cast Flame Strike and do some other things. So there you go. So, and just develop it. I mean, there's a ton of places I can think of that have noted weapons, noted locations of lore that may have items that you may find, and develop it and put it into your campaign. And then tie it in to Greyhawk. And that is really cool. When you tie a magic item into Greyhawk, like Jim Ward's book, that's awesome. So, cool touching your arrow means an arrow is only no way to get. That's a good idea, Extort. That's cool too. Yep, absolutely. There may be a quirk where all the IU specialty priests of a certain level can automatically detect that black arrow. That's a great point. So, ever smoking bottles? You think that are useless? I don't know. Put that one up, and you're trying to escape.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you're trying to escape, or you want to simulate a fire in a city.
Yeah, and you just want to obscure yourself. If there's like a whole bunch of archers up somewhere, then you need to.
There are whole military units that do nothing but produce smoke.
Exactly, and take tanks and armored vehicles. They spend millions to develop the right smoke screen device that can kind of hide them from various things and stuff. So yeah, so I think there's plenty of awesome use for ever smoking bottles.
Yeah, and it's once again,
or smoke arrows.
smoke
Yeah.
arrows. I love arrows that light up, the fairy fire arrows, right? That's
Yeah.
a cool one.
Yeah.
Fairy fire arrows are very cool. So something neat.
I have an arrow of it's a cursed arrow of homing. So when they're struck by it, they're cursed, and everything fired within 120 feet goes towards the person who just got struck with that cursed arrow. So basically, all missiles go to that target for a couple rounds.
Yeah, that's a great one too. Great idea. So, one last thing that I want to talk about while we have time, and that is bracers of defense, which if you start giving out bracers of defense a lot to your thieves and your mages, then they end up with a -8, -9 armor class. And I'm talking about 1E, 2E. Who knows what armor class they are in 3rd edition? It's crazy. So how do I combat this? Where your thieves and your mages especially should have worse armor class than your fighters. You give them items that have a base armor class worse, but with special abilities. This is documented in Horror of the Hools. Okay, I have 2 items in Horror of the Hools that do specifically that. Here's the Robe of the Necromancer. Okay, this is in Horror of the Hools, so I'll give you a little tidbit if you don't have it already. So, highly desired by practitioners of the dark arts. Okay, it serves as base armor class 5, so it's equivalent of wearing bracers of defense armor class 5. But if a more potent bracers of defense are worn with the robe, the garment ceases to function. Eliminate. So the best base armor class they're ever going to have is 5 with pluses of protection or whatever. Eliminates them getting the better bracers at this point. They get bonus spell slots, which is a huge thing in my game. Get a bonus 2nd level spell, and they get a +1 bonus when commanding or turning undead. All right, so there you go, and that's kind of an item that, and you can do that with anything. You can do that with robes, cloaks, bracers themselves, and give them special abilities, but make the armor class level worse. Just like you're doing a +1 weapon with abilities instead of a +3 or 4 weapon, do it with armor items that are not as powerful as your bracers AC 2. I had given out bracers AC 0 once. I regretted it. Right, Tim?
Who has this?
Sam. Yes. Bracers for militant mages. Yes. So I don't know. Bracers are +4. That's a 3rd edition thing. There's no. So for me, it's bracers are armor class. There's no bracers +4, +5, +6. That's a 3rd edition stat.
That might just be +4 to armor class, though. Bracers should not be like protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you run into the limits of you can only go down to -10. So you don't have or can you go deeper?
Yes.
Okay, then
yes,
it should be a problem. Give the fighters more, let them go even deeper into the minus. That's how every other edition have sold it.
Well, for example, Sorsha is now -11 armor class last night because she got that item that had the +2 to it. Oh, I moved your Zoom pick somehow. Did I move something? I'm sorry I did that. So just note that as a DM, think how is this going to affect my game long term?
Yep.
And then test stuff and tell people you're going to give out stuff and use stuff as tests. If they don't work, we may have to eliminate it, but we'll replace it with something. Because don't punish them, but play test things. It's the only way you're going to figure out if they're good or they work or they're balanced. Yeah, can you imagine +5 plate mail, +5 shield? So that already that's without even dex bonus. I mean, that's just insane.
Whatever you do, if you give your characters a minor item like a wand of enemy detection, by all means, don't punish them for using it intelligently by making a trapper catch them.
I have no idea. There wasn't an enemy at the time. Everyone agrees with me. You're the only one that doesn't.
Yeah.
Even Eric Mona agreed with me.
It definitely was.
Eric Mona agreed with me.
Yeah. And those are kind of tricky things, meaning you detect all enemies or kind of
correct
things that are kind of ambiguous at best, so to speak. I don't think it should work from some sort of should work in at least within the realms of D&D physics in your campaign setting. So you have these kind of super senses that are simply so ambiguous that if today's supercomputers can't figure it out, then I don't think a magic item should be able to figure it out either.
So there should be some limits. I have not. I've instituted limits on magic items to paladins, to knights, to cavalier paladins, to monks. Monks only can have 5. But I haven't done it with other classes. I'm close to implementing a max, but I know I'm going to get a lot of bitching.
Do you have like slots? A
complaining.
lot of like from the 3rd edition onwards, they have the number of slots, meaning you can only have 1 ring on each hand. You
well, that
have
we've
one
always
set
had
of armor, etc.
That's too much like a video game. If
Tim's correct on that, but rings you're only allowed to have 1 on each hand.
Right.
The number 1 wish use in our game is if you get a ring of wish is just to wear a 3rd ring. That's the number 1 wish slot that it gets used that I allow. So there's also an item called a mage hand. It's actually a desiccated hand. You wear it like around your neck or whatever, and that allows you to wear a 3rd ring on that hand.
Oh, but you could allow to have rings hanging in a chain around your instead of an amulet, but then you would not have an amulet.
Well, it didn't work for the dark. It didn't work for the 1 ring. So
exactly, it didn't work there. So then you could
I am mean, sure. I nerf all my guys. So so the joke is, if you ever saw the Reaper ad, the comet. If you've been cometized, you know what I'm talking about. When the comet comes, just like in that stupid Night of the Comet movie, you better look up or you better hide, because the comet's going to get you. So I've comet. Most of it was stats. I had to cometize stats. We'll talk about that another time on players, because
I don't.
Decks of many things are bad. The Keys of Tirandor in White Dwarf magazine is bad, right? If you get +2 to all your stats from that adventure, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yes, don't go there.
But you can also make sure that magic items in general gets more tricky to use by ramping up the detect magic abilities of certain monsters and villains and stuff. Meaning you can say that archmage, if you have like an archmage that is like 20th level or something like that, and really good at detecting, he might be able to detect every magic item within a mile. Or deities and stuff might be able to detect any magic items within their realm, for instance, and certainly, especially ones that are above a certain kind of power level, so to speak, artifacts and stuff like that. They might be able to sense that from a long distance away, and especially when you use it. Maybe not when you're not using it, but when you use it. And that way, that means that if we want to be stealthy and go into the master villain, we might want to go low key and low tech, so to speak, in order to go in. That's another way of dealing with magic, overpowerful magic items, by making them have a downside when you use them.
When Jay was and I were playing a solo adventure of Skeeve, who's an 18th level mage in Highport, it was all low tech, low disguises, no high level magic, because he didn't want to leave a trace. He didn't want to get attention for just that purpose.
Yeah, they might.
And so it changes the whole texture of what you're doing. It makes it more challenging and more fun.
Exactly, meaning wizards and clerics and others who can use detect magic and sense it, they might simply recognize that item's simply fingerprint from the simply by detecting and say, oh, it's that thing. I've seen that one before, or now you're coming back and I will remember you. So and especially like godly beings, deities and stuff should be able to have senses that are beyond the norm, so to speak, and maybe even other super powerful creatures and smart ones. So yeah.
So I know we're getting close to time. So Tim, what do you have to say in closing about this? Tips on magic items.
I don't think I have anything to add. I think play testing them is a good one ahead of time. That way, if you do have to alter or change it, no one's going to begrudge it, or they shouldn't, because you've warned them ahead of time. And use your imagination. Use other sources to tweak things, and use other games. I have several magic items that I borrowed from Warhammer, in the Barbarian crew.
How many have I stolen from World of Warcraft or Neverwinter Nights or Baldur's Gate 2? I mean, there's a lot of great items out there that you can use, that you can take from other game systems. Absolutely. Do you have a special gem that turns you invisible? Wink, wink.
Huh?
It turns me invisible. It's the anti-wife gem. So I don't want my wife knowing what I'm doing. No, just kidding. So yeah. Diablo by Battle.net is awesome for ideas. So I'll give you the number one dragon, Silver of Leaf of Selene. You're going to laugh. Wert's third leg. You know that is right. That is in frickin' Diablo, and Wert's third leg is a magic item in our game. Right from
it's like
there.
The butcher. You can you
Yes.
can take ideas from. Yep.
I like going into old Pegasus magazines, some Judges Guild. They have
Absolutely.
a lot of really way off the wall magic items.
Gemma Brightness is cool too.
I use.
So there's a lot of really neat things. So Anna, how about in closing on magic items?
Well, I think it's a discussion and thinking about things like this is something that every DM needs to do, because magic items should be a part of every campaign one way or the other. So it's an important thing that you need to kind of figure out what your overall ideas for your campaign should be and your levels of magic and stuff like that. And then, like you say, you said maybe play test and think about it and take inspiration from lots of places and tweak it. But you should definitely don't miss out on it. It's an awesome way, but it's also one of the biggest pitfalls that you can have in your campaign on magic items. So regardless of edition and campaign, you should have cool magic items, and you should surprise your players and the characters with it. And you should also give it out as treats, special treats for the players to have fun with.
And in closing on this, I'll say have fun with it and just experiment and ask. You can always ask people. I'll always answer a question if I think it's a good idea or not. I know Tim will, Anna will, people in Cannon Fire or Grailk Online will, and note that there's a lot of publications out there with a ton. You can go to almost any dragon magazine from like any of them and find magic items. Another place, go to Dragon's Foot and look at L4 and L5, the Croton ones that Leonard did. There are a ton of cool magic items in them. That Leonard created. Really neat magic items. A lot of people don't know about that Leonard made. So that's another good place.
And then you can read Sage advice then you see all the drawbacks and pitfalls and problems with magic items. And they show up frequently in the Sage advice. So that's kind of
where you see the other side. The more people want to steal them.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Okay, so let's hit up some shout outs on what's going on. See ya, Zudrak. We're going to do that giveaway shortly. Michael, if you win it, no problem.
Yeah, do the giveaway. And
we'll do it after the shout outs. It's okay. Michael's good. Do you talk about like the Axe Dwarven? No, because I don't give. All right, so you talked about that. We'll finish up on that. Artifacts. I don't use them in my game. Therefore, I don't put the abilities in. I think I've given like a tooth of Narval Darl once, one tooth, but it had a baneful, you know how some of them have baneful effects? I think it had a baneful effect on it. I don't like giving major artifacts out in the game. I just don't. So I think they're supposed to be in that they're artifacts, you haven't found them realm. So that's why I don't assign the abilities. But if I did assign the abilities in that Thunder in that question, I would assign logical ones that made sense to that item. So an Axe of the Dwarvish Lords would have, mining ability, gold to gem ability, things like that. Yeah. Lesser artifacts are a different story. Because, they're powerful items, but not major artifacts.
I have an artifact in my city-state campaign, and I have picked all the things for it.
And what was that?
You don't know.
Oh, okay.
But you can probably guess who owns it.
Yeah, the Overlord. Does he own the Mighty Servant of Luco? That was a guess.
But actually, though, I did make that one artifact that you found, actually.
Which was what?
The one that Roscoe has now.
Oh, yeah.
It's trouble.
Yeah. Which is
good. Sorry.
Go ahead, Anna.
I was going to say, I think most of my campaigns have had some form of artifact or very powerful item. But the fact that I tend to see artifacts a little bit different than if you take the first edition Dungeon Master Guide, that they're simply way more powerful items that you, if you get one, then that will be like having the Swiss Army knife of things that it can do enormous amount of stuff. That's not the way I see artifacts. Artifacts are personally customized items with a specific purpose. Instead of being very powerful in a broad range, they are specialized items. They are very, very, very powerful, but they are built with a purpose by someone for their purpose, which is rarely, if ever. I don't think I've ever had an artifact that the characters can use straight out of the bat and just get like a +6 sword or a plate mail that is like plus whatever instead of, or super bane or bane of a lot of things. No, that's not artifact. Artifacts for me are things like, now in my campaign they have a minor artifact that is the Book of Vakunis. It's his spell book, and that is the spell book he created in order to protect himself, to project his power, and to be able to circumvent certain problems he had in his previous career. I'm not going to be more specific because I don't want to spoil it, the fun for my players to figure out. But it was Vakunis had problems in his earlier career, and he needed to circumvent them. He needed to make sure that he had a fallback, that he could project power in new ways, and he could counter the problems he had. So he spent a decade or two to create an item that could do that for him. And that means that the item is very, very, very powerful, but it's not something like a PC spellcaster can just open it up and, oh, I get all the cool spells and stuff like that. No, it doesn't work that way. But it's very powerful items that they can be powerful because, not so much because the characters get powerful by having them, but if they deny the enemy the use of that artifact, that can have an enormous effect. Meaning, if Vakunis can't use his artifact, and I use that Vakunis worked for, if they can't make use of that artifact, that is a good effect, so to speak. But it's not something that makes the players particularly, or the characters, that more powerful right off the bat, but it makes the enemy a little bit less powerful, and it opens up possibilities down the road. That's how I like to see artifacts, because then they become, less they become less problematic from a game balance perspective.
So very cool. Lastly, just remember that Mike Bridges did us all a favor here. Oh, thank you, long shot. Did us all a very nice favor and took Greyhawk Wars items and made them, and they're 5e rule sets, these items. And I gave out the Big B's Bottled Breath last night, but put it in 1e, 2e. But there's 6 items here that are only appear in the Greyhawk Wars that he made items alpha on his blog. So note that's cool, and I tend to use some more of them just to add some items there. Yeah, absolutely. So, Tim, what's up? Oh, why don't we talk about your game too? Coming up.
Yes, yeah. I am. I've had a number of people express interest in the Barbarian group, and it's the Dark Hand has turned into the Dark Band. It's like 7 of them now. So I am starting a second Barbarian group.
Yep.
Who will be the, the Dark Hand are like the elites and the heroes and the beautiful people of the tribe. And this new group is going to be the underdogs. So, but they'll all be part of the same tribe, have the same texture. They just, they're just going to be starting out at a lower level and, have to work for the recognition.
Yeah, I mean, if the ones that crit the most in our sessions with Dark Hand will be degraded and put in the other group.
So Tim and I haven't set a date yet, but Tim, we're gonna do it on a Saturday morning.
I have the players that I haven't got there yet. I have to go ahead and we're going to be rolling. We're rolling.
So you're gonna do a session 0.
Yes.
Let's do that live. Seriously, that'd be awesome. I've never done a session 0 live.
Yeah.
Well,
no, we'll just sit around and just do it, man.
Sure, we can do that. Let me
That's it.
I owed them some stuff from this weekend, and I just didn't have. I just
Hey,
couldn't get
dude,
it together.
I
with my headache
understand.
and all
I
that.
understand. I haven't even started on
No.
Thursday's game. So if I'm wrong here, the following persons are in, and that is Canadian Ancient Gamer, Antiquitous,
Yeah.
Time Lord's Wife,
Yes.
Prometheus,
Yes.
Chuck Combo.
He's
Possibly.
a possible guest when he has some free time. He said he's kind of.
Who am I missing?
Super busy. Casey.
Casey Brown.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's yes. So
And then I have
backups.
possibly a friend of mine who played in the charity game, and then also Mike.
Disney.
He wasn't sure about his schedule either.
So this is what, and don't bombard Tim, but whisper Tim and say, hey, if you down the road you may be interested in as a backup or whatever, just said that to him, and then he can note it. Because things always happen, like what happened last night. Chuck wasn't able to make it, and I had Casey on standby already. So, note that there's great. And then if he couldn't have made it, Josh Pop was going to come in and play Josh instead. Josh Dethier, his namesake. But so we didn't have to get to that point. But just note that it's good to have a backup plan for, instead of canceling or going less.
Casey was bombarding me with questions, and
I told you.
Already pushing the envelope.
Like he always does.
Well,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. So that, and then we'll talk about time frame and all.
So I'm just going to say that I'm focusing on backstory and the feel of the character before we talk game mechanics, because I want to have that feel and texture, because they may not have the stats to be a barbarian class. So he may be a fighter, but he's a barbarian. He's from the tribe. So I want that role and texture. You can't just say, well, I'm a fighter, I'm going to dress and play now. No. So I want that cultural and, I want that texture and aesthetic and all of it. So maybe they don't have the stat to be a barbarian cleric. So they're going to be some sort of shamanic sort of druid or something. So the game mechanics are secondary to the creation of the story. So that's the goal.
Sounds like a fun time. And that's the great thing, is for us all to enjoy ourselves here, in the community. So looking forward to that, Tim. Thanks. Appreciate you coming on again tonight, 2 weeks in a row. I really appreciate it. Anna, what's up?
Okay. Yeah, I had we had the 8th session in my campaign, and I can report that next session they will be first level. So yeah. So yeah, 8 sessions in, we decided now it's they had a big fight, and that was kind of the defining moment in the campaign so far. So I thought this was good. So there will be a couple of days of downtime in the campaign, maybe, or something. So they can, and they had good trainers and stuff now, so that can kind of, that there will be a boot camp for a little bit in the campaign, that they kind of bring them up.
I'm interested in this, Anna, if I can ask one question.
Yeah.
Did you start them like a minus experience points, or is it more story driven?
It's more story driven and no experience points. So they basically had to spend time on trying to learn skills. So you had a system where they spend 8 hours on trying to learn something, and then it was really, if they just learn it from, I've heard that people can do magic. Then it's almost impossible. But the more they knew about it, and if they have a teacher, it will be easier, so to speak. And now they have master teachers in a lot of stuff around, so to speak. So it will be a lot easier. So they figured out a few things, and so they were halfway or 2/3 or 3/4, depending on which of the characters. So they were close to being ready for it. So now I simply say, okay, now it's a time that we will level them up. And next they will be to storm the keep of Aldet and do some other cool stuff, because there's 2 Iusian priests at large in the vicinity. So they need to chase them down and find them, and so that will be some interesting going on. And we also don't know how quickly, or if ever, or in what way Ius will come back and revenge his loss of a village and his loss of his priests and stuff. So we'll see what can happen. So it can be kind of interesting.
Ius probably didn't notice.
Exactly. He might not, but yeah, exactly. We don't know how quickly he will notice, but his skull crows took off. So we'll see what can happen. So he might know quickly. So we'll see. so that is going on with my campaign. And then I'm working on, and since we're in on my game, I'm working on something that might happen later in the campaign that I want to be part of the background, so to speak. And this is the first material that I've developed that I think is so good that I think it might be material good enough for an Earth Journal article.
Ooh.
And that is, I'm digging into what I call the dark faith. And we have the old faith, but there is a dark side to the old faith. And we've heard about dark druids, and we have Robert J. Kuntz wrote a very interesting. I haven't read everything yet. I'm going to read this whole thing through, and this meaning they're dark druids. And so I started to over like the last 6-8 months, I've started to read things about the old faith. I'm starting to see if I can puzzle things together, and I think I have some really, really cool theories. And I think that either Gary Julian might be very angry at me, or he might be very impressed. I'm not sure which, because I will tie in a little bit of the Dark Knights and stuff into this, and the Abyssal Maw, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of explains why Orcus was involved, and it explains a whole bunch of stuff there. So for me, it kind of makes sense, and also it explains why Zuktmoy is involved in things, and it explains a whole bunch of interesting stuff. So that is something I want to kind of make use, and it also ties in the Horn Society. And so it's an interesting theory that I want to kind of tie into. It's the meaning you have the druids that are the nature loving normal side of nature, but nature has a dark side, meaning death is part of nature, decay and rotting and all that. That's also part of nature. So there is that too. And then you have the fact that Druidism in the Flanese is very tied to Flan, old Flan culture, and the Flan wanted to get themselves a special protection unit from genocide and stuff. So when the going gets really tough, they wanted to have someone there to defend them if the very, very worst happened. And those two things combined is the kind of the theme I've set for the Dark Faith. So it's a Flan kind of parallel faith to the regular druidic old faith, and it ties in a lot of interesting stuff, so to speak. So that's what I want to I'm not planning to stream my campaign, but it will be very interesting to make some experiments. But I definitely want to, in future conventions, to run games. That is something I want to write adventures and to run them. So because I need way more training as a DM. I can tell that I feel very, very, very rusty, and I need to ramp up my game. And I also need to ramp up my game when it comes to using all these kind of cool bells and whistles and digital tools and stuff. I need to ramp up my game there too. So that's what's going on with my campaign. So that is taking some interesting twists that I wasn't really aware of when I started planning my campaign a couple of years ago. But it's that I think is really cool. And then on the map side, I have there will be new blog posts and stuff coming out on the new generation Greyhawk maps. That's an ongoing work, and I think there will be a blog post advancing that roughly once a week. And then I have the other project is to revise and revamp and also expand a bit the Azure Sea Ocean, or whatever you call it. Yeah, so that area with the Isle of Dread, and because I've noticed there is a lot of inconsistencies and stuff between my map and a bunch of sources. So that's something I want to fix. So I'm working on revamping the Azure Sea and expanding it a bit and making sure that we can kind of correct a lot of the mistakes and stuff. So that revision is underway. So there will be very soon, there will be sketches and stuff, so we can kind of discuss and people can tell me what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right and stuff. So so that is coming, and because that will be part of the new edition of both the 21 edition of the map and the atlas. So it's coming. So that needs to be settled. So there will be sketches so we can kind of discuss and make sure that as many as people as possible can be in on the train. I think that this is a good idea to do it that way. And that is, yeah, and then there's, yeah, so and then there's a whole bunch of technical developments and new kind of cool versions of software coming out too. So there might be a deep technical post or something about that too. And the revamping of my my Patreon is coming close too. So I'm trying to nail down, so there will be some presentations of new tiers, goals, and stuff like that too. So and that there is also some development on having a cartography Twitch show, and or something in those lines. There is yeah, there's a bunch of us in the several of us in the cartography map crazy community that thinks that maybe once a month or so that might be interested to have a show just talking about fantasy maps or something.
Cool.
We have no idea of in what format this will be, but we have the desire of doing it in some sort of format. And there's also talk to printing partners and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch, a lot of things are in flux, and a lot of things are in early days, but it's moving forward. So slowly and gently. So there will be cool stuff. And Lindor Isles will get there. It's the grounding sketch and stuff, and the placement of settlements is underway. So that will be very soon. I will have the first kind of placements of that, and so people can kind of give comments and tell me what I'm doing right or wrong there too. So yeah, and Lindor Isles is tricky. It's really tricky because Len himself had multiple ideas on how it was supposed to be. So and then you have the disagreement between Darlene Map and Len too, that we talked about earlier. So Lindor Isles is tricky from that perspective. So I'm going to read through L1 to all the Len's adventures that was set in Lindor Isle once more, and that will take me a couple of days, and then I'm going to sit down and see if I can make up my mind what I think, and have at least two, have the official TSR version and then Len's version, and we'll see. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Anna, thank you so very much. All right, so here's what's going on next week. Don't know about Thursday yet. We'll figure it out. But so Wednesday night, we'll kick off the week with Legends Lore, and that is wrong, and that's not Mountains and Highlands. Duh.
That was last week. Yep.
Yeah. So there, Jay messed up. Let me go to. Let me just see. It's Demi-Human Realms of Greyhawk. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about on Wednesdays. The Demi-Human Realms of Greyhawk. Did it come up? Okay, it came up in the shout out correctly. So that will be that will be on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Our normal game Thursday night. No Bill, so I'm not sure what we're doing yet, but we'll figure that out on Thursday. It's only a 3-stream week. Once again, Saturday night, last night was unbelievable. 4 hype trains. Wonderful support from the community. Just fantastic game. I had a blast DMing it. It was fun.
It was so much fun.
Thank you. I threw a soul lich at him. All right, sue me. I shouldn't have done it, but I did. It was just.
Oh, but that was fun. That was out of the ordinary when it comes to enemies and stuff. So yeah, it was fun.
What else? Yeah. What else? Too Canadian. Talk about them in the Vestfy or wherever they may be, Axwood and other places. All right, so dude.
Yeah, and I can tell Crimson
Sun is on me tonight, so I'm trying to get done as quickly as possible here.
Yeah.
Sunday's the big show. Big show Sunday. Ed Greenwood is wrong button. Ed Greenwood is back along with Tony Winslow Burrow and Eric Mengi, and we're going to have a fun discussion. We're going to talk about all the libraries and colleges of Greyhawk, places of knowledge, and and tie in with the creation of Candlekeep, which is going to be really cool. And I'm frazzled now. He's got me off on a tangent here. There we go. Boom. All right, here. There we go. All right, and that'll be what's going on. I'm going next week. So Ed Greenwood returns. Still working on all these guests post Gary Con. I have no confirmation for any of them 100%. Okay. But I have the following that's in the works. Mike Merles is in the works. We'll see.
Yay.
He needs to get approval from WotC. I don't know what's going to happen there. All right. There will be, and Anna knows about this, I have placed out an invitation for Legends and Lore and how we've done eras for the Paizohawk era. So I've asked Jason Bullman and James Jacobs to come on the show at the same time on Legends and Lore. All right. The target date is the end of the month, Wednesday, April 28th. I want to share this with everyone. I sent Eric just saying I was going to do this. And Eric says, oh, cool. Want me to sit in on that one too? So Eric may show up or not. I don't know.
Awesome. So just getting Jason and James.
Yes. So
getting Eric on top of that as well. That will be.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you very much. So I am working on that. I'm working on that. We're also, so yes, I just need to get confirmations from them. And yes, if I had all three, that would be awesome for Legends and Lore show on a Wednesday night. Working on that. You're absolutely correct, Derek. There could never be enough Eric Mona. We're working on Alan Hammock. We're working on Zeb Cook. I haven't nothing heard from Hickman or Moore. But we're working on all these, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. We're attempting, yes, to make it happen. So just note it's being worked on, but having Ed Greenwood come back, that's pretty big in itself next Sunday. So let's do the giveaway and call it a night. Here's my little one that needs some attention here.
I will return.
I shall return.
Okay. Good seeing you again, Tim.
I'll be back.
All right, sounds good. All right, no problem. Here we go. We're doing the Carlos Licing $25 gift certificate for tonight. Okay. Thank you. I'm trying. The winner. That's funny, Gary. Long shot.
Yeah.
Long shot.
Might be interesting.
Are you on still? Yes, you are. All right.
Hey, awesome.
Long shot. I will send it to you probably tonight, the code. All right. Remember, I did 4 giveaways last night. So I was with 4 hype trains. I had to go with 4 giveaways last night. And I moved one of them that was tonight to last night because of it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So long shot, congrats. We're going to raid someone I've never raided before. If I can find them, give me 1 second here. Let me go on to this Nerdlandia or something like that. I was looking at the stream and they look pretty cool, and I didn't see anyone else I really wanted to go raid, but let me see if I can find them here. Hang in there 1 second. I probably not gonna be able to find them now because I didn't bookmark it. There's one way I can do this. Hold on here, as I can go back here. Did that work? Is that working here? Okay, Nerdland Diag. Okay. All right. Oh, now they're on We'll Be Right Back, so they're not even on now. All right. Well, there goes that idea. All righty. So, they're on a We'll Be Back, and I'm not raiding until We'll Be Back like we did the last time. They're lost there. So we're going to raid into, I think, 20 sides to every story. All right. Because he's got some good stuff going on. He's going to start a Temple of Elemental Evil Goodman Games version stream soon. So once he gets he says he's going to be able to get the Goodman Games version early so that he can play it. So good for him. So we'll raid into them. All right, and they got a good stream there. All right, thank you. Yep. Thank you all. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Jay's going to hit another wrong button. It's just been one of those nights. All right, I'll see you Wednesday night. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you, George.
Raid in 20 sides.
Feel free to rename that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, 77. That's awesome. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you Wednesday. It's not coming up on mine.
Yeah, it looks like it is.
Alright, I'm having trouble getting to it.
At least the chat switched.
The real long shot. The chat is all showing great.
Yeah,
Alright.
the chat
For some reason, it
switched.
won't let me it won't let me on mine go to it, which is ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah, but the chat switched,
There it goes,
and that's
finally.
what it normally does. So it seems to.
Alright, let me finish this up here.
Are we off the air?